Get you, King, man. You know the vibes already, man. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, absolutely.
Listen,
We overdue. I'm trying to make it where
overdue.
it's full screen. Hold on.
You good like that though, Sky. You good?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
it's
I
one
was
of the guys
trying
you
to
like that.
make sure I can
Listen,
see
when it comes
everything.
to
Word
music
up.
though, both of
Huh?
us are Knicks fans. You have an anthem for the Knicks, Orange and Blue Skies and stuff like that. How
Blue
are
and
you
orange
feeling?
everything.
Yeah, Orange everything, part itself.
Blue and orange
How are
everything.
you
Yeah.
feeling about this series in Indiana? Because let me ask you, I'm a little bit worried. I'm in my 40s. I've been here since 1984. Okay, I've been here since
Listen,
the year
bro.
before
We we
you were
we we
king
in the
now.
same field. I was born in '82. We in the same
Okay,
field.
absolutely. So you know what it is to be a Knicks fan. You of all people know, right?
100%.
Are
100%,
you
man. Nah,
concerned that the
it's
fan base has been talking crazy? They already got us in the finals, Sky. I want to tread lightly. Let's just worry about Indiana first, though, son. You say
you
what's
know,
that?
it's similar, man. I'm trying to this thing is bothering me trying to get this full screen, brother. I'm sorry, man.
No, you good. I got you just the way I wanted you, like on my screen.
Okay, my
Yeah,
bad, my
you good.
bad.
You good
Okay.
now. Now you
Word up.
good.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those that's just like, yeah, we could do this. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to get ahead of the moment at the same time. You know what I mean? I don't want to get ahead of the moment. So, we just trying to make it right and make it make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like every series we learn something about the Knicks, right? I felt in
Yeah,
the first round, Detroit kind of propelled us
yeah,
to the Celtics series, how physical that series was. You
yeah.
know, I know people want to go into Jason Tatum going down in
Nah, we
game
was already
four.
up. We was
We scored by
already
nine
up. You
points,
know what
though,
I'm
Scott. We
saying?
scored
Like,
by nine. We scored by
listen.
nine.
We was already up. We was winning
Yeah.
that game. You know, even Brad Stevens and Joe Mazzulla and them came out and said they was like, yeah, we was losing that game, no doubt. You know what I mean? Regardless. And then, people want to talk about that. Last year, we went 7 games with Indiana with half a roster. You know what I'm
OG was
saying?
down.
Like,
Josh Hart was down. Brunson was gone. Randall
yeah.
wasn't playing.
Brunson broke his hand mid game. Hart had his ribs and his back messed up.
Son.
Mitchell was gone. He didn't play the whole series. Randall was gone. He didn't play. Hartenstein was hurt. Everybody was hurt. Nobody was talking this, they had injuries and blah, 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 blah. It was
Mhm,
just, the Knicks couldn't do it. All right.
mhm.
So the Celtics couldn't do it. What up? You know what I
Right,
mean? Like,
right.
that's it.
You got us how many games?
6 realistically.
Okay.
I don't want nothing to go 7
I
unless we
never, I
need it.
never won
I don't
70
want
games.
nothing to go 7 unless we need it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Absolutely,
I don't
Scott.
want nothing to go 7 because that's dangerous. When we saw it last year, like Jalen Brunson broke his hand in game 7.
That
You know
was
what I mean?
hurtful, Scott.
Like
That was
7
hurtful.
is dangerous, man.
That was hurtful. Perk said today on first take, he got us winning in 5.
That'd be amazing.
That
I
would be
want this.
amazing.
Listen, man. I want this over with. I want Minnesota to eat OKC food,
I don't
and then
know,
it
Sky.
be us in Minnesota, and it's a movie. You
Okay.
got, you know,
The storyline, Sky. The
That's what I'm
storyline is
saying. You got Cat going back to Minnesota. You got Randall and Devo coming back to New York, and it's a movie. It's all scripted, and we could body them. We could body Minnesota
see,
without
okay,
a
see,
doubt.
I'm glad you went there. Stay with me, Sky. So you're saying, okay, boom. If the Knicks get past Indiana,
Yeah,
regardless of the storyline, you think we have a better chance beating Minnesota than OKC?
absolutely,
Okay.
without a doubt. Yeah, Shea and Hartenstein and Caruso and all them.
Right,
Now I'm good. We could be whoever. I'm with whatever. You know what I'm
right,
saying? I'm with it all. Like I'm not. I'm with it all. I'm not running from that. It is what it is. Whoever we got to get, we got to get. But
right.
if I had to pick, I want Minnesota. You know what I mean? Without a
Okay.
doubt.
All right, all
Without a
right, all right.
doubt.
Let's go ahead right quick before we talk about some of your music and everything. You see what's going on hip hop right now. Do you like the climate? What's going on here with the Joey
The back and
Badass?
forths.
Are you feeling that though? How you feel about that?
I
You're MC's MC. How you feel about what's going
yeah,
on?
yeah. I dig it, man. I dig it. I think Joey is putting on for the city. I love the fact that he ain't scared to get in the ring and fight. I don't think a lot of people would have expected a Joey to come out and start gunning and dumping at everybody
I didn't expect that. I didn't
because
see that.
he's always dropped dope projects. He's always been, on the scene putting in work, but also he has a lot going on with the acting. And I don't think a lot of people would have expected him of all people to come out and start dumping at everybody. So I think that's really dope of him. Salute to him. The only thing I'm not crazy about, and I'm gonna keep it a buck, the
Yes,
only
sir.
thing I'm not crazy about is the geographical element of it. I'm not crazy about that for a lot of reasons. It took a long time for us to get past that. It took a long time for, and the thing is, right, you'll have a lot of people that say, nah, but Joey ain't gonna do nothing and so-and-so ain't gonna do nothing. That's cool, that's true, but it's not about them. It's about everybody around. And it's not even the people around them personally, it's the people around in the street just going on crash out missions. You know what I'm saying? It's not about what Joey's gonna. Is Joey gonna jeopardize his career? Absolutely not. Is Kendrick or Daylight or any of them? Absolutely not. They're not gonna jeopardize their career, especially when they cool. But you got these kids who don't even know that Daylight is cool with Pro. Now you turn it into a LA versus New York. I don't like that. I
I
don't
hate
like
it
the.
too. I hate
Yeah,
it.
I don't like that. I don't. If we're gonna keep it about the rhymes, keep it about the rhymes, and may the best man or woman win. But like, I don't like the chopped cheese on the cover and the corner store on the cover. I don't like that because it could turn into
Mm.
something that nobody wants. And again, it ain't gonna be 96. Rappers is loading up in the car. It's not gonna be that in this era. It's
We
gonna be
lived
these
through that,
crash
Scott.
out
We lived through
dummies.
that. We lived through that, son.
You
We
know what I'm
lived through
saying?
that.
I have no doubt that Joey and Reason and all these guys are not gonna do that. And that's not going against them. That's saying they smarter than that. They smarter than that to be like, yo, we gonna leave the studio and load up. You know what I mean? Like this, they're not gonna do that on either side. It's the kids watching, the kids who would
Mm.
never be in the room with any of them, but who's watching. Now it
Right.
turns into fuck LA, fuck New York, fuck nah. I don't. You know what I'm saying? That part I'm not a fan of. But the rhymes, yeah, I love it, man. I think it's dope. I think it's dope that everybody is just going for it. It's hard to trace back the why and you know what I mean, but
Yeah. So,
it's like with Kendrick and Drake, it became personal. It may have been personal, and we didn't even know whatever. But
mm,
with this, that's even better because really it's just sparring as long as it stays sparring. But
mm.
I would like to leave the talking about L.A. and talking about New York.
Yes.
Leave that out. I don't need nobody clapping at Brooklyn. I don't need nobody clapping at South Central. Like leave all that out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. A lot of people were saying the fact that Joey was going against Rayvon, Reason, the Daylight, and there was nobody standing next to Joey. No New York MC standing to Joey, right? I did a show. They mentioned your name, Rope Streets.
Oh, word up.
They just said all the ill niggas from the city. They mentioned
Yeah,
this, right? And I said, I don't expect them brothers to do that. I'm not expecting Sky and Rome and Banks to just pop out and be like,
right,
okay, we're gonna gear up. It's not like that, son. It's not.
right.
It's not like that. And I don't think it's cool to invite dudes into that. I thought what he did, the strategic thing that Joey did was grabbing Lux because
Right,
Lux is
which came out of nowhere. Like maybe I missed a couple chapters in the book, but
right.
for Lux to be added out of nowhere, I was like, oh wow, okay. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know, what the
I mean,
synergy
daylight.
was, what the
Yeah, yeah.
connection was, if there
Mhm.
was lingering this, that, or the third. So I was like, okay, word up. That was an ill surprise, and of course, Lex was going crazy and all that, and
Mhm.
everything was smooth. That's the homie too. Shout out to the bro. But
Yeah.
so everything was love. But first of all, I think it's dope. People threw my name in that as one of them guys that
Of
could come in
course.
there and throw a jersey on and drop 40. You know what I mean? Absolutely. But I like watching it from where I'm at. I think everybody that's gotten involved, has been able to do what they need to do. I think
Mhm.
Joey is more than holding his own, and it's Brooklyn
Mhm.
all day. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
I think Joey
Absolutely.
is more than holding his own.
Mhm.
So I don't think nobody feels like they gotta get involved. Like, Joey's dropping like what, two, three records a day. Like, you know what I'm saying?
He
Like,
chilled. He chilled today. Yesterday he dropped 2. Daylight dropped 3 yesterday. Sky.
I
In
saw
fact,
that. I saw that. Yeah. Well, I saw two daylights yesterday. I think I might have missed one.
he dropped one first, right? No, he dropped one early in the morning, right? Because niggas like Daylight, you got to clap back, right? Because
Was that
people
the
didn't like it
AO?
first. It's AO joint. He dropped
Okay,
that
okay. So
first,
I did
right?
catch
Boom.
that. Yeah,
So niggas like, okay, you fought back. We like that joint. Joey's still up.
yeah,
But niggas did like the fact you made a good joint compared to the last one you had, right?
yeah.
Joey dropped another joint after that. Yo, Sky, the nigga Daylight drops 2 joints in a 20-minute span, son.
That was when he had the
I've
two
never seen.
covers, and
Yes,
that was when he had the two covers.
right,
Yeah, yeah.
right.
The
Sky,
chopped cheese in the corner store. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've
But
been watching. I've been to the Fat Boys who did UTFO down, and I've never seen niggas
yeah.
drop 2 diss tracks. And I know Kendrick. I mean, Kendrick did it last year.
Kendrick did it. You know what I mean?
Right,
Kendrick
right.
dropped 20 minutes apart. You know what I'm saying? So,
But
but
that
seeing
was
that, but even
crazy.
with Joey, like I saw Joey drop and then drop again the next day. And that for those watching at home who's not MCs, that takes a lot. You know what I mean? That takes a lot to go sit down, get the beat that you feel is the right beat, get in the lab, put XYZ together with the adrenaline, the attention, the phone going off. You
Right.
reading every comment, you reading every tweet, the good, the bad,
Right.
the ugly, the
Right.
doubters, the supporters, whatever it is.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
thinking about how to get back to it, blah blah blah. You mix master, throw it out. You going to do it again. Like it take a lot to go in there and get a record out in record time, for lack of a better term.
Hmm.
And boom, let's start dumping again and again. It's a different thing. So I respect all that. I respect, because back in the day we saw heads a drop, had to take a couple days, get it together, whether it was Jada and Siegel, whether it was, Jay and Nas, whatever. We saw that go in that direction. So, Kendrick obviously started a new precedent of drop a record and then drop again and then drop again. Like he
Right.
started that without a doubt.
Right.
And if I'm
Right.
wrong, correct me. But
Right.
in my opinion, he started that with the whole I'm dropping, then I'm gonna drop again, then I'm gonna chill, then I'm gonna drop again and again. Like so it's a thing now, But I think it's dope. You seeing people that I think don't have nothing to do with it jump in it, and of course, people looking at it a certain way. This person may be going for this agenda, maybe going for that agenda. This person may be helping to, hold down the city. I just think it's all dope. I'm trying to keep up with everything as much as I can. I caught wind of somebody I never heard of, somebody named Kai Cash.
He's from New York, in fact. Yeah,
Yeah,
young boy,
yeah. I think you're
young
from the
brother.
K.
Yeah.
I think you're from Brooklyn.
I just got put up on him 2 days ago.
Yeah, and that was how I heard about it. Like I'm just
Right.
scrolling and I saw, and it said Kai Cash throws his hat in the ring, and I was like, who that? And he was tough. I was like, oh, money going for it. Like he was tough. I'm like, I never heard of son. I did a little
Mm-hmm.
research. It looked like he might be signed to Canon and all that in Atlantic. But
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yo, money is tough. Like money getting off. So
Mm-hmm.
that's cool too, because you
Right.
getting put on and familiar with different heads and all that. So I thought that was tough.
How have you avoided rap beef since '09? How have you avoided rap beef since '09, son?
Oh man, I mean,
You niggas don't want no smoke, but we know that. But I'm just saying, how you
yeah.
avoid that though?
I think when you see somebody in the park and you see how they play ball and you see how they handle and how they shoot from 30, you know what it
You know
is.
what it
You know what
is?
I'm saying? So like, but at the same time, like I show love to everybody. You know what I mean? I'm very humble and I'm very showing love. I also was never really with no crew. And I think that's a part of
Yeah,
it. I never
yeah.
was with no crew. The closest I had to a crew
I'm down,
is
right?
my brother Torre, Barrel Brothers. You know what I'm
Yeah, Miss
saying? Like
Torre,
the
yeah.
closest I ever had to a crew.
Mhm.
Before that, when I was with Ninth and Jamla and all that, but that's not that type of energy either. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right, right,
So,
right.
the closest I had to a crew was with my brother Tor, who was doing Barrel Brothers. But I never
Mm.
was really with no crew. And I think that's part of it because a lot of times rap crews, even now, you got Pro Era, TDE, you know what I'm
Yes,
saying? You got
yes,
TDE,
yes,
OVO, a lot
yes.
of that was, you know what I mean? So a lot of times that's a part of it too. And I'm just about making great music. Like if you look at a ball player, I compare a lot of stuff to sports and food. I use those as
Okay.
go-to analogies. If you look at a ball player and he played ball the right way, you could tell he know how to read plays, he know how to run plays. He know how to run a triangle, or he know how to man up on defense or play
Mm.
zone defense. He know how to shoot from here. He know how to get it off the dribble. He know how to two
Right.
dribble, bang, whatever it is, dribble, pass,
Mm.
shoot. You're like, damn, son, know what it is. But when you see him play, yo, he could definitely go to the Rucker if he had to. Like Kobe, you know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like you look at a
Yeah.
Kobe, when Kobe was here, you knew Kobe was the quintessential 5-on-5 ball player.
Hmm.
But then you also knew he could go to the Rucker and tear it down like he did. So
Absolutely.
I think, if you listen to my music, yo, like Sky got songs, his catalog is it. His
Right.
catalog is, bulletproof, whatever.
Hmm.
It's not a bunch of records of me just dumbing out. But if you hear all the music I'm making and every line damn near is a double entendre, yo, he could dumb out. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could dumb out. Just because we ain't see him hit a Kyrie crossover, I can
Hmm.
tell by the way he dribbled the ball and the way he take care of it, he could dumb out on a Kyrie crossover if he had to. You know what I mean? So I think
Right.
that's what it comes down to. And I
Mm.
think the fans, the people know, yo, Scott could dumb out. Like, you've seen on the radar, you've seen me on Sway, like off the top. Like Scott could dumb out if he wants to, you know what I mean? But he making records about gentrification and black
Yes.
struggle and
Yes.
growth and
Yes.
black fatherhood. But we can
Introspective.
tell in those records how he's running it, his
Mhm.
doubles and going over your head and getting it 5 years later. Yeah, that's a tree that heads know what it is. You know what I mean? So, but again, I love, I love the sport. I love watching it. It's why I'm a big fan of battle rap. I
Mm.
love battle rap. Love it.
Okay.
You know, I'm a fan of the sport. When I see them
Mm.
going crazy and all that, some of them I know personally, like Lux and Clips, and
Okay.
Mickey, of course. You know what
Okay.
I mean, and
Okay.
even Light. You know what I mean. I know
Yeah.
Light.
Yeah.
A little bit and whatever. But
Mm.
it's I love the sport. So that's just that side of me being a fan of it.
Right. When people talk about Skyzoo, right? I feel like even on social media, when I bring your name up, or when me and I have guys come in on my show talk hip hop, right? Even Method Man came on the show, showed you a lot of love,
Went
right?
crazy. Shout to the brother Meth. He went crazy on your show.
Absolutely, man. RJ Penn, a lot of these guys when I speak about you, right? The name or the word that people use to describe you is consistency,
Yeah.
right? How do you feel about that? Like, the people feel like every project you dropped has damn it 4 mics, 4.5, classic hair. Like, how do you level of consistency and the fact that you're able to work with mad producers, all kind of producers, and mesh
Yeah.
with them and still have a dope sound? How do you feel about that when people label you as consistency? You know?
That's what it's about. For me, that's
Mhm.
what it's about, right? It's about that legacy. It's about every record. You're arguing what was the best record. You're not arguing, yo, yeah, but this one was kind of whatever. That's never happened.
Right,
You know what I mean? That's never
right.
happened. And that's all a testament to the talent, God-given gift, and the way I put it together and the way I move. So, that's never happened, and I don't plan on it ever happening. For
Mm,
me, it's all about my catalog being bulletproof. It's all about, every album. The thing people say going into what you were saying,
mm.
you read the comments every time I drop an album, they go, yo, I didn't think you could do it, but you won up the last one. Every time. They're like,
Because it's hard
yo,
for niggas to do
how
that,
do
Sky.
you wanna,
It's
yo,
hard.
you
It's
you I
hard.
swore, they say, yo, I swore your last joint was gonna be the best joint you ever did. I swore you couldn't top that one, you couldn't beat that one, and you did it. And
Yes.
then you did it, and you did it. That's the goal, man. If Mike win the championship, he
Mm.
would win the championship with the Bulls, go to the Bahamas for 2 weeks, come home and get right back in the gym.
That is
So
fact.
for me, no matter how dope I know I am or how dope people look at me or think of me or whatever, it's
Mm,
still about being in the gym shooting 1,000 jumpers a day. It's still about Ray Allen, 1,000 jumpers a day. Let's go. It's still about that. And I'm always trying to one up myself, right? Like
mm.
I remember being younger and I read this double XL article on Eminem, and
Okay.
it was it was a quote that I've taken with me every time I pick up a pen. He said, if I drop, they asked him if his new joint coming out he felt was his best work. And he was like, absolutely, because if it's not, I shouldn't have dropped it. He said, what I do today has to be better than what I did yesterday, or I should have stopped yesterday. And I've lived by that. I think I was in like the 12th grade or something when I read that. And I've lived by that. Like since then, like, yep, that's what it's about. So every time it's about one upping and let the argument be what's better. And the dope thing about my catalog, you have fans, diehard fans, casual fans, whatever,
Right.
and they'll argue what's their favorite album.
Hmm.
Bingo. That's the goal, right? If I tell you, yo, go to this restaurant,
Right.
you say, yo, what should I get? I say, get the so and so. That's
Hmm.
what you got to get. Okay, then that's the joint. But
Hmm.
if you say, what should I get? I go, yo, get anything. Anything you get on the menu, you're going to be straight.
Hmm.
This is a for real restaurant. It's
Right.
a rare restaurant. You know what I mean? So if people
Hmm.
go to you and say, yo, what album should I listen to? Yo, this one, you have this is the one. This is the only one. All right, cool. So you got one great album, you got
Hmm.
one elite album, and everything else is cool or whatever.
Hmm.
But if you go, yo, man, you go Retropolitan, you go Mind of a Saint, you can go in Celebration of Us, you can go
Salvation.
Milestones, you go Keep Me Company, you can go Easy Truth, you can go All the Brilliant
Salvation.
Things, Oh the Reasonable Doubt. It's like, damn, like what?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I got people going Theo versus JJ. That was a free
That
mixtape.
was
You know what I
fire.
mean? So
Yeah, Miss JJ.
it's
That was fire.
that's what it's about. That's what separates the nice and the elite. And I
Mm.
always point that out. Like it's the difference between nice and elite. A lot of people
Mm.
is nice. A lot of
Right.
people nice. A lot of people in the NBA. Everybody not KD. Everybody not Brunson.
Right.
Everybody not Shea.
Right.
Everybody not Braun.
Right.
Everybody not Melo and Lowe was there. You know what I mean? Like
Thanks. Thanks. Hmm.
it's a lot of people in the league. Everybody in the league is nice. The dude on the bench who's the 12th man was the nicest in his high school. A lot of people in the league nice. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But who's elite? And that's
Thanks.
where the conversation got to start changing.
So your journey in hip hop, right? What's the first tape you bought that you gonna remember that you bought?
That I purchased?
You purchased yourself, or Mom Dukes might have purchased it for your pops.
Absolutely. Oh
Uh,
man.
obviously
Well, I
Michael
started.
Jackson, obviously Michael Jackson, Thrill and all that. But I'm
You
just
talking about
saying,
hip
yo,
hop?
come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. Of course. You talking about hip hop?
Yeah.
Well, growing up, my parents was young. They had me young, man, and growing up in Brooklyn and all that, and being in the
Mm,
P. So I'm 6 years old. My parents is 26. So I had young, cool parents. So before I started rhyming, I was, my house was Eric B. and Rakim and BDP and Public Enemy, and my
mm,
mom's had Straight Outta Compton, and
mm.
Kid and
Okay.
Play, and my pops was
Okay.
bumping,
Makes
like I
sense
said,
now.
Public Enemy, and
Mm,
Cool Mo D and all
mm,
that, BDK, everything.
mm.
So that was happening before I even knew that I would rap. I started rhyming at 9. The first tape I ever bought, what made me want to start rapping was Chi
Right.
Ali, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. And
Chi Ali. Shout out Chi Ali right quick.
Ali AJ
Okay.
number. I got the AJ number, the vinyl, AJ number, the number vinyl framed on my wall in the studio. Like that's
Wow.
the song that made me want to rap. So I'm 9 years old. I'm in the crib, video music box, and the joint comes on. Doom doom. Doom, doom, little girlie, listen to me. Stop giggling and kissing to me. Trying to refrain from playing the childish. I know the whole song by heart. So
Wow.
like the
Okay.
video comes on and I'm stuck. You know what I mean? I'm
Mm,
just watching TV, and I remember
mm.
looking at my mother. My mother's in the kitchen, whatever. And I looked at my mother. I said, "Ma," and I'm pointing. I said, "Ma, I want to do that." I'm pointing at the TV. I said, "I want to do that. That's what I want to do." And she said, "Go
Wow.
do it." And that was it. So it started with Chi. Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, cassette single. Nobody Beats the Wiz. Around the corner, up the block from King's Plaza. You know what I mean? Like you had to go downstairs, right? Like
Absolutely.
you go to the Wiz across the street from King's Plaza, and you had to go downstairs to the
Uh-huh.
Wiz or whatever.
Uh,
And they had the 99-cent singles and all, and boom, AJ Ain't Nothing But a Number. Then I
wow.
got the album, the whole tape, the Fabulous Chi Ali, and then from there it just grew, man. The
Mm.
youngsters and crisscross, because I
Woo.
was a kid. So 9 years old, I'm looking for the kids, but I also was about the pen very early on. Very early, it was about what you were saying. Even at 9, 10, 11 years old, it was what was you saying?
Mm,
So the rappers that the other kids may have liked, I didn't really care about. But I was
mm.
a kid, so I wanted to hear the kid rappers. So for me,
Right.
like I said, the youngsters and crisscross, everybody was a crisscross fan. You was born in the early 80s,
Son,
forget
I
it.
rock my clothes. I have my clothes wearing the things behind like these niggas. Like, cause they
Absolutely. I
oh,
did
like,
it
come
one
on, man.
time. I did it one time in the 5th grade. My mother, one time, it was the last day of school.
Hey,
And after begging her for like a week, it was the last day of school. She was like, yo, fuck it, go ahead, man. Like after getting on
oh
her nerves, you know what I mean? But so like it was all that. And then as I got older, of course, now I'm 11, 12. Now it's the woo. Now it's Nas and it's Jay and it's Big and all that. Growing up a block away from Big, being St. James,
man. Yeah, St.
I'm
James.
watching all that happen in real time. So I tell, and it's crazy because today is Big birthday, but
Yes,
I
word.
tell heads all the
Happy
time,
big,
like, yeah, 100%.
man.
We was little kids going to Kennedy Fried Chicken, and we see cameras on the corner. And we like, yo, what they doing over there? And it was filming Juicy. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I was up the block. It was like, yo, what they doing on the
crazy.
corner? And it was a billion people, and it was Juicy. You know what I mean? So, like I said on the new album, I was like, I'm from a block away from where Biggie from. Yo soundtrack was the shit I heard every night in real time. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Because like when Big made Ready to Die, that was about the neighborhood. If that's the neighborhood I live in, I'm going to the store every day. I'm going to school. I'm getting on a train. Those are the things happening in the neighborhood while I'm
mm.
just living life. Going to PS11 Park to play ball. Going to 113 to play ball. Going to
Okay.
Emerson to play ball. Whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. Those are the things happening around me.
Right.
That music was the soundtrack for us because
Mm.
we before it was even written, it was the world we lived in. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I was a little kid.
Environment.
I didn't grow up dapping up. Yo, what up, B.I.? Because I was a kid. Like, what 21-year-olds is hanging out with little 10-year-olds? I was 10, 11 years old. But those
Right.
was the OGs in the neighborhood, right? Like, we would
Mm.
be sitting on my steps, 133. We'd be sitting on my steps, trading basketball cards and and arguing and bugging out on a Beckett magazine and all that. And little
Yes.
Kim will walk by, little C's will walk by because that was the neighborhood. It wasn't
Right.
even a big deal because it was every day. You know what I mean? It was oh they go Kim, oh they go
Regular.
C's.
Regular.
Oh, they go Nino. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, but we was the little kid. Yo, what y'all doing over here? Shorty, what y'all doing? Y'all over here
Mm.
being bad, you little bad. Like that was us. You know what I mean? So, you know, um, that is my journey, right? So
Mm.
now I'm already rhyming. I start rhyming at 9. Now Illmatic, which to me is the greatest hip hop album of all time.
Wait, stay with me. So you say, oh yeah, stay with me because your man, Ninth Wonder, went on Drink Champs and
I heard
said
about that.
Marty, the
He said the
infamous.
mob. He said the mob, which is
So,
amazing.
so
Yo,
you saying
listen,
that? Okay, let's talk.
the infamous is incredible.
All
The
right.
infamous is incredible, and the infamous was made looking at Illmatic, right? And they've talked
Okay.
about it. Like I remember seeing this documentary. I don't know if they ever released it, but one time, me and my brother Illmind, shout to Meezy, me and my brother Illmind,
Shout out Illmind.
absolutely. He did some work on one of the last Mob albums before P passed. I think he had did one or two joints on there.
Okay.
So they invited him to this album release event, like listening party, whatever thing.
Right.
But the first half of it was they was gonna screen this Mob Deep documentary. So he brought me, like they let him bring heads. So he brought me, and they screened this documentary on the making of the infamous. I don't know if it ever came out, but it was incredible. It was the making of the whole. It was like an hour long, and they talked about it. Now it was Steve Rifkin, and this when P was still alive. So it was
Right.
Steve Rifkin and P, and all them in it. And they talked about how the competition was Illmatic, and it was friendly competition because we was from the same hood and blah blah blah. But that was everybody was gunning for Illmatic and Ready to Die. You know what I mean? Like those was the albums out. That was it. Everybody was gunning for those. And so the Infamous was made with a bullseye on Illmatic, which is a part of what makes it so incredible. That's an incredible album, without a doubt. But for me, Illmatic is the greatest hip hop album of all time, right? Without a doubt. So now, 94, I'm at the park. I'm at PS11 Park playing ball. The OGs is outside, shooting dice, bugging out, twisting a Philly, boom, 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 boom. Not a Dutch, because Dutchess wasn't popping yet. It was a Philly. You know what I mean? Like, come on. We really from a certain place and time. You know what I'm saying? We really from a certain place and time. So
Philly's first.
So boom, Philly rappers and Guts is on, whatever. We outside playing ball, watching the OGs doing what they doing. And the whole time, the whip was parked in front of the fence, in front of the gate, and it was bumping the whole Illmatic. So I heard the whole Illmatic start to finish while playing ball, while playing 3-on-3. And when it was done, when I went home for the day, I went home, got $10 out the crib, and went to Beach Street. You know what I mean? Went to Beach Street, downtown Brooklyn, and made it happen. Got a tape, boom, boom, and that was it. So for me, Illmatic changed everything. The Genius changed everything. I just Liquid Swords. You know what I mean? Like I owe a lot of my intricacies to a handful of people and a handful of albums, and we can get into those too. But one of them being Liquid Swords. You know what I mean? Liquid Swords was.
Jizza gets a lot of respect. Us Brooklyn niggas, we love Jizza, right?
I think so. Like
he don't get a lot from Brooklyn though, man. He don't get a lot of Brooklyn.
But I feel like his name may not come up in every conversation, but anytime his name come up, there's no debate. You know what I mean? It's more so blaming on the mind, not the heart, with certain people. Because anytime his name come up, I never heard nobody be like, "Yeah, son, I never in my life heard nobody." You know what I mean? Like in life, it'd be like, "Oh, the Genius." Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so he get his for sure. You know what I mean? But Liquid Swords and the Purple Tape, of course, was phenomenal. And the Infamous, phenomenal. All that. Of course, Ready to Die. That goes without saying. But we say it, Ready to Die, and then
stay with me. I feel like Black Moon Enter the Stage does not get a lot of love at Illmatic and Ready to Die, and I can make an argument that
it's a beautiful album.
Hey Nas, I gotta find my classic with y'all niggas.
Right? Black Moon joint is incredible, and for me, me starting out at Duck Down, and that's still being family, no doubt. Regardless of where I'm at in my career, that's family. So Black Moon Enter the Stage, absolutely. I mean, who got the props? One of the greatest sample flips, one of the greatest pockets and flows on it, and all that from Buck, and the whole deal. So, the beauty of it is that time, so much magic was happening, it can get forgotten about, and that that sucks for those who was making the magic. But it's just a testament to how much work was so incredible at the time. You know what I mean? If you're talking 94, 5, 6, it's like what? Like, to me, the greatest year ever in our culture, music, fashion, film, sports, is 1995. Yes. 95 is the greatest year ever. You know what I mean? I was 13.
Okay, so your point say 95 is the greatest year hip hop.
Oh, 95 is the greatest year ever for everything, right?
Me and B have arguments about this all the time, about 94, 95, 96. We have an argument. I say I'm not mad at 95 though, Scott. I say 96 sometimes, but I ain't mad at 95.
See, 96 is ill because you get everything from 95 leaning into it. You know what I mean? Where if you say 95, then you can't count anything from 96, but which
Okay.
means you can't count Reasonable Doubt. And that's probably the biggest moment that you would want to add to the pot of the greatest year. So I
Right.
respect that because obviously Reasonable Doubt is what it's all
Of
about.
course.
But
Absolutely.
95 just as a year, from the fashion to the music, even outside of hip hop, Brandy, I Want
Right.
to Be Down, and Monica, and like, it just was so much, man. I was in the 8th grade, I was in junior high, I was going crazy. You know, pennies every day. The Magic almost won the chip. 95 was just it. You know what I mean? It was like 95 is the year. You know what I mean?
All right, so let me help you out here. 95.
Okay,
Raekwon only built for Cuban links.
absolutely. The Genius,
Tu-
of course.
Tupac, Me Against the World.
Okay,
Jizza Liquid Swords.
yep.
Bone Thugs Harmony.
See what I'm saying?
The Mob.
The Mob.
Goody Mob Soul Food.
Did we say? Did we say Ray? We said Ray, right? Only built Cuban links.
Yeah, we got Ready to Die.
Okay, we got that.
Smith&
Yep, yep,
Wesson
yep.
Shining.
See what I'm saying?
Old
Like
Dirty Bastard, Alcoholic, The Far Side. AZ dropped in 95. Yes, you might be right.
95 was it, bro. And then, but I'm saying everything too. I'm saying the music. I'm
Right,
saying fashion. I'm
right,
saying the movies that came
uh,
out, Bad
right.
Boys and all that. And
Yeah,
Martin was running the world. And
uh,
95 was it, man. Batman Forever. Like
yeah.
95 was it. You know what I'm
95 was
saying?
it,
Like
though. It was.
95 was it. If I could go back and get 3 months, 95. Take me to 90.
95?
Take me to what? April, May, June of 95. Boom, I'm
Okay.
good. Sign me up. Yeah.
So before 2006, right? What was your journey? Is it? I know you and Sean Price had. I mean, R.I.P. Sean Price. I know
Absolutely.
You and Sean P had a relationship and everything like that. Was it Duck Down first before you got with Ninth? How does that? Am I
No, it was ninth
Ninth
and then
first?
duck
Okay.
down. So what
So how'd you get
happened
with Ninth in
was
North Carolina? Ninth in North Carolina. How a Brooklyn nigga linked up with a
right.
brother?
So here we
North
go.
Carolina?
So what happened was I'm running around dropping little local mixtapes. If you didn't know me personally, you didn't get one. You know what I mean? One of
All
them
right.
type things.
All right.
And my man Ayers Knights, shout out to my man Ayers Knights, still my guy to this day. He actually put me on to Little Brother and the Justice League. I hadn't heard of them. You know what I mean? And this is
Okay.
'04. This is 2004. So I hadn't heard of them. And he put me on, and he was like, "No, you know the kid Knife Wonder, who he you heard his joint before. He did the J joint. He did Threat." And I was like, "Oh, word, okay, blah, blah, blah." So he put me on to the listening. I'm like, "Yo, this is incredible." So now I'm listening to the listening and blah, blah. So he's just catching me up to speed on what's going on with them. And he knew Sean Don, my man Dunny. He knew Sean Don. And Dunny is from the Bronx, but he was living in
Okay.
North Carolina, with the
Okay.
league and LB and all that.
Mhm.
And Sean Don was coming to New York for visit family, whatever. So he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna try to link you with Dunny with Sean Don." I was like,
Mhm.
"I bet." The first day I met Sean Don, he came to my man's studio all the way in Long Island, and we did like 4 records the first day we met. I was like, "Damn,
Okay.
son is mad cool." I'm a nobody. I got to go to work at friggin' Home Goods tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, so like, I was
Right.
like, "Yeah, son is mad cool." And we did like 4 records on the spot just because, like, just to do them. And I gave him every mixtape I had. And he's like, "Yo, money, yeah, you crazy. You go crazy." I gave him every little homemade mixtape I had of mine, which probably was about 4 or 5 tapes. He took them to North Carolina and we kept in touch. And like a month or two later, he hit me and was like, "Yo, Heads wants you to come to North Carolina and just work out." So the league would have this thing, the Justice League called them. The
Justice
league
League.
would have this
Mhm.
thing where they would bring Heads to North Carolina
Mhm.
just to work, like just to record music with no plans or intention of doing anything with it, which is so organic and great. And you know what I mean? Like, it ain't about,
Right.
"Yo, we gotta have you on paper, we're gonna put this
Mhm.
out." It was like, "Yo, just come down and let's just knock out some records." And I don't know a lot of other people that would do that, especially with the motion that Knife and LB had at the time. So,
Right. Right. Right.
I flew down. I took a week off from my job. At that point, I was working at Morgan Stanley. So I took a week off, went to North Carolina, stayed at Dunny crib, stayed at Sean Don crib. It was him and Crisis living together, stayed at their crib, slept on the couch. And I did 15 records that week. You know what I mean? So I did records with Knife for 10. Shout out to my man for 10. Crisis did a bunch. And Crisis actually put me on to Illmind. And me and
Mm.
Illmind did a record. I hadn't even met him in person. Illmind sent Crisis a beat through AIM, literally through AOL AIM. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like, he sent them a beat on the AIM joint. And I did the record, and my flight was like 4 hours later. I did the record, and then I
Mhm.
ran to the airport. So I did like 15 records that week, and I met all of them, and they just took a super liking to me, and me and Ninth got real close. And He brought me to his crib, introduced me to his family, whatever, whatever, whatever.
Wow.
And I remember them telling me like, "Yo, you in?" I was like, "What you mean?" They was like, "Yo, he took you to his house to meet his wife and kids. Like, you in?" You know what I mean? I was like, "Word, all right." So it was love, and Ninth gave me some beats. So then from there, I'm still in New York, going to work every day, 9 to 5, and then all that. And they started working on, well, they started mixing the minstrel show. So they came to New
Fire,
York.
classic album, Little
Yeah,
Brother, man.
yeah, absolutely.
Little
So they
Brother
so they
Mission
came to
Show
New
is
York.
fire.
They
Good
came to New
lord.
York to mix the minstrel show because Young Guru mixed it. So he mixed it at
Wow.
baseline.
Okay.
So, I'm locked in. I'm super close with Ninth. So he was like, "Yo, just pull up. Like anytime you want to come to the mixing session, just pull up." So I'm working at Morgan Stanley 3 to 11:30, 3 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Morgan
Mm.
Stanley, I had to wear a button-up shirt, a tie, slacks, hard bottoms. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Hey.
going straight from the job to baseline. So I'm in baseline every night, 5 days a week, with a
Wow.
button up, a tie. You know what I mean? Looking like the
The
lawyer.
grind
You know
is
what I
real,
mean? Like
Sky. The
on
grind
the
is real.
grind, on the grind, be like button up, tie, slacks, hard
Yeah.
bottoms, penny loaf. You know what I mean? Like
Word.
every night. So now I'm getting cool with Guru. Now I'm getting cool with Just Blaze. Boom, boom,
Mm.
boom. Because they was in there every night mixing. It was Pooh, Tay, and Ninth in there every night. With Just and with Goo and all that. And I was just in there. They just saw the hunger, man. I was in there. They knew I was nice. They knew I was dope. I was the new young kid, and I was just hungry. So then every time I would see Ninth, he would give me a beat CD just for fun. And granted, a beat CD because this is '05, '06, right?
Hey.
So he's giving me a beat CD every time. Boom, yo, take that. Yo, these the beats, cuz these the new beats, cuz is how he would say it. So now I'm in the crib. Now we fast forward to '06. I'm in the crib and I got a stack of beat CDs from Ninth, and I've
Wow.
listened to them, but I've never really delved into them because I didn't know what was gonna happen, what to do, but whatever. So so one day I'm in the crib, literally bored, and I was like, let me listen to these beats, and I start going through the CDs, and I'm like, yo, man, I heard the beats and it was crazy, but it's just so much going on. I got to go to work, blah, blah, blah. Like I started really focusing on it, and I said, yo, what if I did a project with all these beats? I was like, bet, here's how I'm gonna do this. So I start pulling beats, writing down, yo, track 2 and track 5 on this CD. This CD, track 1 and 3 and 10. Okay, so I'm pulling beats, and I called my man Nice, still my guy to this day. He was like my 40. And called my man Nice at the studio in Long Island. I said, yo, I'm gonna pull up, man. I got this idea. All right, cool. So I go out there, and in 2 days, I did 9 records, right? Did 9 records in 2 days. The first record I wrote and recorded was the Bodega. So I did
Fire.
that. That was
Fire
the
off
first
the
record I
top
wrote
of
and
that
recorded
joint.
for Cloud
Fire.
Nine.
Okay.
Right. So I
Okay.
did the Bodega, Way to Go, knocking all these records down. Boom, boom, boom. 9 records in 2 days. Cool. So then I hit Dunny. Y'all want to come down to North Carolina? Yo, it's cool. Yeah, yeah, come down. So I see I'm gonna go down for a weekend, blah, blah, blah. I book a flight. I shoot down there. I'm staying at Dunny crib. Go to the lab. I see Ninth. Yo, what up, baby? Blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm getting ready to leave the lab the first day. I said, yo, put this in your pocket. He's like, what's this? I said, nah, it's just a CD. Put that in your pocket. Takes it. The next day, like 8 a.m., I'm sleeping on Sean Don couch. I get a call. I said, yo, what up? It's Ninth. Yo, cuz, what is this CD, cuz? What is this CD, fam? And he turns it up, and it's the Bodega. Yeah, yeah, he turns it up, and it's the Bodega. And he was like,
Fire.
yo, this shit is incredible, cuz. This shit is incredible. I was like, oh, man, good looking. I was like, yo, what you want to do? He was like, yo, studio, 12 o'clock, come through. I was like, I bet. So I pull up at 12. He was like, yo, this is incredible, man. This is incredible, B. Like, and my whole fear was, is any of these beats gone? Because he gave me these beats a couple months ago. So for the most part, everything was there. I think it was one beat. It was one beat that Boot Camp had that was coming out on the album. So I had to swap beats on that. But
Okay.
yeah, everything was pretty much available. And I was like, yo, what you want to do? He was like, yo, whatever. What you want to do? I said, yo, if you give me the ball, I'm gonna run. That's what I told him. I said, if you give me the ball, I'm gonna run.
Yeah,
I
you did.
promise. You don't got to do nothing. You don't gotta. You don't gotta do no no.
Live and
You don't
direct.
gotta
Live and
put no
direct.
bread up.
Live and direct. The spirit. I love them songs, my
All
nigga.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, so what happened? Because you mentioned the spirit. I mean, think
Yeah.
what happened. It was the 9 records. He said, let's finish it. So
Uh,
we did 3 records in one day. So that's how it became 12 songs in 3 days. So when you know the story, Cloud Nine, a 3-day high, 12
right.
songs in
Right.
three
Right.
days. The first 9 records was in 2 days, and the last 3 records was in one day. It was like a week later, but it was in one day. So that's how I became 12 songs in 3 days. So we was done, and I said, bro, if you give me the ball, I'm gonna run. You don't gotta do nothing. All you gotta do is when people ask you about it, let them know it's real. Because at the time, a lot of people was getting knife beats off YouTube and making joints and projects and putting them on the lawn and okay play. You know what I mean? And people was getting confused, like, yo, is this a real joint or not?
Right.
And Knife would have to come out and say, nah, that ain't real. I don't know that kid. Blah, 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 blah. So I was like, yo, no one knows me, bro. I have a job. If you ain't in Brooklyn or Queens or whatever, you don't know me. You know what I'm saying? So like, if it comes up, just rep it. Just let them know it's real. And he was like, absolutely. I said, I don't need you to do nothing else. I got it. And he was like, let's go. And it became Skyzoo and Knife Wonder, Cloud 9, and 3 Day High. I took care of the video. I took care of the artwork. I got the deal for it. I took care of the photo, everything. I said, you don't got to do nothing. I got it in XXL. I got it in the source. I got it on all the blogs. I said, bro, you don't got to do nothing. Just give me the ball. And he loved that. He was like, yo, even with the rhymes, he was like, the rhymes is crazy. The song, the talent. He was like, but your grind is just as crazy. Like, he was like, yo, you literally made an album and jump started your career. I didn't have to do anything. You just took the initiative and you made a banger. The album is ridiculous. And I was like, yo, good looking, bye-bye. So that was the start of our relationship. You know what I mean? And that was how that got started. And then from there, you know, when he was trying to build Jamla, what happened was, I'm buzzing now. Now I got that. Now I got this mixtape. I got records with Primo. I got this. Now I'm buzzing. Things is happening. I'm at every showcase in New York. I'm going crazy. And now it's time to start working on my official debut album. I don't consider Cloud 9 my debut at all. I did it in 3 days.
Right?
Salvation is my debut, right? Cloud 9 I did in 3 days. You know what I mean? So, you know, they say you take your whole.
Sky, before you go, so 06, you dropped Cloud 9, right? So
yeah,
07, 08, going into 09, those 2 year span, going into 09, you're bubbling, you're like you said,
mixtapes, Corner Store Classic, all that, different mixtapes and shows and features, and just really going hard, man. I'm out in the street. You know, there was no real super internet thing going on. Like, it was there, but it was, you know what I mean? So then the blog starts happening in like 06, 07. So I'm taking advantage of that. Blah, 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 blah. So like, you know, everything is happening, man. Like me and Wale doing a bunch of records and all these different things is happening. And my name is going a little wild. So I remember I said, now it's time to start this official album. It was always going to be called The Salvation. I was like, now it's time to start The Salvation. So I remember one day I'm on the way to Long Island to the studio and I hit Knife.
Right.
And I called him. I said, yo, I'm about to start this album. I said, there's no way I can do this album without you being on it, right? Like, you're the reason anybody cares about me. You know what I mean? You're the reason anybody knows me. I was like, yo, I got to have you on the album. He's like, of course, absolutely. I'm all the way with it. I said, yo, how much do you want per beat? I never paid him for a beat all those years because I was going to work every day. So he ain't want nothing from me. So I was like, yo, how much you want for a beat? He was like, yo, I don't even know what to charge you. He was like, man, you know, if you was on Def Jam or something, cool. We do it that way. But he was like, you know, you on your own. And he was like, I don't even know what to charge you, man. He was like, yo, I could try to come up with a number or you can help me out. And I was like, what you need? He was like, I'm about to start my own label. I'm going to call it Jamla, blah, 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 blah. I want you to be the first artist. I was like, bet, say no more. Like, that's home team. You was the first person to believe in me, of somebody with a name and stature. You the reason anybody knows who I am. It's been love. It's crew love. Let's run. You know what I'm saying? You about to go ahead. You about to ask something?
I want to ask you, because did you feel like 50 that niggas in New York didn't give you a shot? It took somebody from out of state.
Bro, it's so wild that you say that.
Because 50 says that all the time. He's like, yo, niggas in New York.
That's the quote I always use, man. That's the quote I always use. I remember in XXL, Fifth was like, yo, I'm from New York, and it took a Detroit dude and an LA dude to put me on. I had to leave home to go get a deal. And it was the exact same thing with me. It was like, yo, I'm from New York. I'm around all these crews, all these people. My manager at the time worked at Atlantic Records. I'm around all these heads, and it took North Carolina to put me on, just for it to circle back and come back to New York. You know what I mean? So like, I always go to that 50 quote, man. It's funny that you brought that up, because I always say that.
And that's how I feel. He was like, yo, listening to you, I'm like, damn, this sound like 50, you know, like 50 went to the same
100%. It was the same thing, man. So it was like, yo, you know, it was like, yo, he was like, yo, I'm starting this label. blah, 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 blah. It's called Jamla. I got a couple artists. I got a couple heads there, but I need a
Right.
flagship. I need somebody to set it off. And he was like, you already out of here. Like, if I try to launch it with somebody who nobody knows,
Right.
you know, he had rap there at the time. My man Big Remo was there.
Okay.
Tom Hardy was there. A couple heads there, but he was like, you already buzzing. You already been in the Source, Double XL, MTV, BET, but it's good business to launch with somebody who already is out
Right.
there cooking. And I was like, done deal, bro. I'd be honored to. You know what I mean? And that was that. You know, I picked the logo. I picked the Jamla logo. You know what I mean? So like, that was that. You know, and we rocked. And you know, I did the Salvation, and Ninth did 5 beats on there. You know, Illmind was on it. Just Blaze was on it. Needles, Knots, Black Milk. You know what I mean? And I just went for it, man. And I did the groundwork on that too. You know what I mean? Like Knife did 5 beats on it, no doubt, but I recorded it all in New York. Then I would go to North Carolina and play him records and bring him records, and we would vibe and build. And you know, I picked the singles, the videos, the this, the every, you know what I'm saying? And I got Needles, I got Just, I got Knots. You know, I did all that, and I did the groundwork. That was all I knew was like, go to get it yourself. I never had nobody go get it for me. You know what I mean? Like, forget the rhymes, like, you know, just putting that on another plate. We just talking about the grind. I never had nobody go get it for me. So I had to go off in the lab, and I had to go in the street and get. So that's the only way I know how to move. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to cook up, you got to bag it, you got to go outside. Like, you got to do it all yourself. That's the only way I knew. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the only way I knew in this industry.
People say every project you get better every project though, but can you say Salvation is your Illmatic? Can I say that? Is that your Cuban Links? Can I say that? Even though
I don't know.
I like Metropolitan. I love a lot of other projects though.
Yeah, but see, that's the beauty of the project. You know, I know my more recent work is definitely better than that.
Yes,
but it doesn't take away from how great that album is and what that album did for people. Obviously, that album hit you in a certain way. It hit people in a certain. I've had people, man. I remember doing a show. I was on the first tour I ever did. The first tour I ever did in life was with Ghostface, and yeah, it's a way to start, right? And then the second tour a week later was with Raekwon. You know what I mean? So like, it was ill, man. The first tour I ever did was with Ghost, but I remember being on tour with Ghost, and this kid came up to me in the crowd, and he was like, "Yo, man, the Salvation had been out for like a month, maybe. You know what I mean? So it was hot, it was new, whatever, whatever." He came up to me, he was like, "Yo, man, I got to turn myself in for this bid next week." And I'm looking at like some real numbers, and I was like, "Damn, you know, that's real." So we building, and he was like, "Yo, man, like your album is getting me through all this, getting ready to go up in there." It was conversations like that, centered around the Salvation. You know what I mean? So I get it. You know what I mean? Now, do I feel like my later work is better? Absolutely, but that's the goal, right? Like, you can have a great rookie year and go downhill, but you can win Rookie of the Year and still go off and become, you know, Bron or Tim Duncan or, you know, Mike, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, your rookie year doesn't have to define you. Your rookie year should be out of this world, but nothing in comparison to what you do later. You know what I mean? But you still win Rookie of the Year. You can win Rookie of the Year and still people forget about that because you did so much other work. And I like to look at myself as that. Like, you could look at the Salvation as like, yo, that was like Rookie of the Year type work.
It was.
But when you think about everything, you forget that I won Rookie of the Year. You know what I mean? Like,
too much choice on this.
That's kind of what it's always been for me. And I drop every year, literally every year. So now you look at the work I've done. Like, it's funny, you know, Chuck D, shout out to my big bro Chuck D.
Man.
He was on the Breakfast Club the other day, and he was like, he brought me up and said, "Yo, Skyzoo was incredible. He's showing so much love." And he was like, "Yo, Skyzoo has like 28 projects." And that's not an exaggeration. You know what I mean? If you count albums, mixtapes, EPs, collabo joints like me and Tor and stuff like that, I'm at like 26, 27 joints. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's fully loaded. You know, I've dropped every single year. Sometimes I've dropped twice a year. If we talking mixtape and album, mixtape and EP, whatever, you know, I've done it. So the catalog is extreme. And it's just an honor and a blessing to be able to do this the way I do it.
People go through trials and tribulations in their life, right?
Yeah.
But for you to drop the way you're dropping, consistency and project year after year, you must live a nice, healthy life, sir. No dramas,
Yeah,
No bullshit.
I do knock on wood, but at the same time, we all go through
Yeah,
stuff.
we
You
go
know,
through
like
shit.
I talked
Exactly,
about it
exactly.
I talked about it on Keep Me Company. You know, Keep Me Company is probably the most vulnerable I've been on a
Okay.
record. Um, I'm open about a lot of things, and that's about growth and all that
Mm,
stuff. That's if I had to sum Keep Me Company up with one word, it's the word growth.
okay.
You know, even with Keep Me Company, like I talk about my restaurant, like how I had a restaurant and, I had to
Mm,
step away from it because it was just going crazy. And, like I said, a buck 50 out the, no, a buck 20 out the bank, I could never retract, a long way from that first buck left in my lap. Like going to the bank and getting six figures of your own money, not this, that, or the third, investments and friends and
right,
my money off of sales, off of ghostwriting, off my money. You know what I'm saying? Like going to the bank and getting six figures out and
right.
opening up a restaurant, putting all your chips in the table and everything bubbling and doing well, and then things start getting rocky because of the climate and the way things are and blah blah blah
Right,
blah blah, and then having to tap out, not tap out because I lost anything. No, I still
right.
got, my house, my cars, my son don't want for nothing. Everything is great. I'm blessed. But still
Uh, I'm listening.
putting six figures up in the middle of the table and it going a certain way is real life. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I talk about all that type of stuff, and
Hmm.
it's very vulnerable in those moments. So, I still have my everyday life, like you said,
Hmm.
we all go through things. But
Hmm.
for me, the music is the outlet, the music is the way to get through, and
Hmm.
it's all I know is putting these double entendres together and putting them together and putting what I feel are beautiful pieces of music together. It goes beyond the pen. A lot of people
Right.
pen is crazy. A lot of
Mm,
people pen is crazy, but can they put it all together?
mm,
Right beats, right sequencing, the way to write a record. You could write the craziest 16, but knowing how
right.
to write an actual song, knowing
Mm,
song structure, knowing hook structure, knowing when to lay off on the gas verse. It's like if you race car driving, if you Indy 500, you can't just gun the whole time. Like you got to
right.
know, yo, if
Yeah.
I gun the whole time, I'm probably gonna wreck right here. My shit gonna be a wrap. I'm
Mm,
probably gonna total out. You know what I mean? Or yo, if
mm,
I ease up too, you got to know when to ease up, when to
yep.
keep going, when to pull back a little bit. So I know even with these doubles and these triples, I pull back right here a little bit. All right,
Mm,
now go. All that
right.
stuff is an art. All that stuff is a science. And so everybody who nice, that's dope. But are they
Mm,
checking all these intricate boxes and doing the fine print as well as the big print that you could see? Are they handling the fine print details as well? And that's
mm.
what I think fans gotta start really putting their focus on and honing in on when you start
Wow.
christening dudes. You know what I mean?
Mm. Do you like ghostwriting? How much you enjoy ghostwriting?
I do. I do. I like, working on my stuff more, obviously. With ghostwriting is super dope, obviously, from a financial aspect, but
Mm,
also too, it's dope being able to flex in different worlds.
mm,
Like people know me as Skyzoo, the underground rapper. You might even think backpack a little bit or whatever,
mm,
whatever, and that's cool, whatever, whatever. But then I could do some ghostwriting and write a top Billboard record or write a record that would play in the Shake Club or whatever. You know what I mean? And do all that, and you would never know. And that's the beauty of that, being able to flex those muscles. Because as much as I grew up on the Jizza, I grew up on Mace. You know what I mean? Like Mace is
mm.
one of my favorite rappers all time. Like I do no Mace
Really?
slander.
Of all time?
Absolutely. Murder taught me how to write records from afar. I never was in no lab or met none of that. But being 14,
Mm,
15, 14 going on 15 or something, and being in the lunchroom every day and spitting 38 bars, right? Or spitting, you know, uh, some off number, spitting
right,
60 bars,
right.
and then listening to Mace, the pocket, the delivery, the flow, the lyricism, going ballistic. I can't see less than an ES, the GS, BS, and I won't stop till we rest in Key West. This be the Mace Bad Boy debut. Y'all haters in the back, steady saying I'm soup. Your hoes in the front, steady saying I'm cute. Beating me all day just to lay up in the coop. I hit fam, tell fam, pick me in the lane. Just all of that intricacy, all that pocket. It's the equivalent of like, woo, you see how Sham God threw that and you see how he came up. You ain't even
Gosh,
peep it,
damn
but
God,
oh shit,
gosh.
yo, like you know what I'm saying? Like yo, you see how he came through his leg and went back and threw it
Yeah.
around. I ain't even peeped that. That's that. I hit fam, tell fam, pick me in the land and blow quick rain. Go catch a quick tan. I'm a big trip, drink expensive liquid. Oh, I learned all that shit from Murder, and I was blown
Wow.
away. It was Murder and it was Jada. I was blown away. I was like, yo. What is this?
Okay, so what am I doing wrong though? Because I was never a Mace fan like that.
Oh, Murder's the guy, bro. I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna help you
I
out.
was never
Murder's the
a Mace
guy,
fan like
man.
that.
Like,
I like
listen, there's a
Cam,
reason.
Big L, like
I'm gonna show you. There's a name all the people that been around Son, that been affiliated with Son. Also, name all the people who have wanted to be around Son or tried to sign him. 50, Ye, Drake. Like, there's a reason everybody is just so attracted to this light of Murder.
oh,
You know
I
what I
know. I
mean?
love
Like,
Mace. The niggas love Mace. I know. Trust me.
yo, he's
I
the
get
off
shit on.
one album. He's had multiple albums, but it's one that Murder's the guy. Be like Murder was walking in rooms and just lighting shit apart effortlessly. You know what I'm saying? Like Murder's the guy. Be like that's one of my
You got,
few
hold on, you
like
got so you got him over Cam?
as an MC. Yeah, yeah. And I'm a Cam
Wow,
fan, but
really?
like
Okay, okay,
I'm a
okay.
Murder guy, man. Murder is the guy. And Cam, what Cam was doing, especially in the early days, what Cam was doing in 98, 97, going ballistic. And even
Before he
Cam will
switched
tell
up,
you.
before he switched up a little, before he switched up.
Yeah, yeah, everybody know he switched. He's even
Right.
admitted that he switched his style and went a certain way.
Yeah,
What he was doing on them Clue tapes, when he was dumping on like this and like that, the Snoop beat and all that, like going crazy. You know what I mean? All them, but even Cam will say it. Like when you watch It Is What It Is, when they talk about those days, Cam be like, "Yo,
yeah.
nah, Murder was the guy."
He
Like he'll
does.
tell you,
Cam
like
does. Can't give it up. Can't give it up to
he'd be
Mace.
like, "Yo," and you
Give
know
it up.
Cam is the most egocentric. Like you know what I mean?
Yes,
Cam love
yes,
Cam. You know what I mean? But like he be saying it on there. He be like, "Nah, Murder was the guy." Like yo, we went to this project. We was battling G-Del. We was battling whoever. Murder was prepared. Like Murder saved us. You know what I mean? He be saying, "Yo,
yeah,
Murder saved us." That Mace is the guy. B. You see, Kiss was like, "Yo, the first time we met Mace." He came down the block 125th in front of the Mart. He had on some shorts and some sandals with the feet out. I remember he was like, yo, yeah, it came through with the sandals with the feet out. It was like, yo, we thought he was a herb. And he just started dumping and
Started
cleared
rapping and
everybody
shit.
out. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
man.
that's Murder, man. So, like, you know, so you
Uh,
take, so just going back to it,
yeah,
and I feel like we went off course, but like,
yeah.
if you take Mace, Jada, the Jizza,
Right.
Big J Nas, Black Star, put all that in a pot.
Mm.
That's me. You know what I mean? And that's
Wow.
why it comes off the way it does. And that's why you come to the Skyzoo show and it's chicks and it's, it's the neo soul Afrocentric crowd. It's the nerds, for lack of a
Mm.
better term.
Right.
It's the hustlers outside. It's all my people from the corner outside.
Yes.
They all relate. It's the reason why you could take a quote unquote underground conscious rapper and he do a coke album, The Mind of a Saint, and no one bats an eye. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying?
Wow. Wow.
Because if I was only Black Star, my approach to The Mind of a Saint would have been totally different.
Mm.
If I was only the Locks, my approach to The Mind of a Saint would be totally different.
Mm.
But it's the fact that I got all of this in this one pot on the stove is why I could do a coke rap album and nobody like, yo, what the fuck this guy doing? They like, yo, this was incredible. You got the
Incredible
trappers, yo,
word.
this was incredible. Then you got the neo soul, underground lyrical, and boom bap heads. Yo, this was beautiful. You got the underground boom bap heads, the doom lovers, and all that
Mm.
talking about a coke rap album. Like, yo, that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Right.
Where they do that at? You know what I mean? Like that's because the pot had Black Star and Mace and the Locks and the Genius and Ray and Nas and it's because the pot had all that shit in it, and that's why I give Murder just as much credit as the Genius. You know what I mean? That's why the credit is Most Def just as much as as Ray and as Jadakiss and like it's all in one, man. It's all in one.
What is it with you linking up with producers and giving us dope albums? Is that easy for you to get a producer and just
Like
lock
the
in?
whole, yeah, it's an honor to be able to do these whole albums with the Pete Rocks and the Apollo Browns and the Ill Minds, and it's an honor for them because they're my friends, but they also have tons of accolades and have done tremendous things with their careers. So it's still an honor, man. And for me, I'm just about creating the best bodies of work. So when I go in, they'll all tell you the way I put an album together. They make the beats without a doubt. They make every beat, but they'll tell you, yeah, Sky sequenced that. He put it in order.
Mhm.
Yeah, Sky got all the features, the hooks. This person singing the hook. Sky called that. Sky put that together. You know what I mean? The skits. Yo, Sky put that skit there. They'll tell you that. You know what I mean? Like I'm all
Mm.
about the curation of an album because
Right.
it can make or break an album. We know a lot of rappers that's incredible but can't pick the right beat, put the track list in the wrong sequence order. The
Yes, sir.
skits is weird. They don't make sense. But they're like, yo,
Yes.
he's dumb nice. He go on Clue and act up. He go on K Slay and act up. But then when it come to that album, 14 records in a row, they not right in a row. You know what I'm saying? So like it's about knowing how to put a record together, you know, and I learned that being a fan of certain eras and certain music and certain clicks and you know, even homie who's going through it right now with all the wild stuff that he was doing, you
Mm.
know, that era of the music that Big, Mace, Faith, Locks, that era.
94 Bad Boy Lego, 95 Bad Boy logo.
Exactly. I made a record about it. You know what I'm
Did a
saying?
record.
Obviously before all the madness went on and we learned who he was and all
Classic
that. But
song too. Love the song.
the era
Mm.
of that stuff
Mm.
raised me of how to make a record.
Right.
It went beyond what you wrote on the pen and pad. It went beyond that. It went to how do we put this together, the sequence, like adding music, adding live instrumentation to the beats that Easy Mo B was doing and all that. Like I learned all that. So now when I'm making records, I got this crazy, you know, I got these break beat drums and this crazy soul sample or whatever, whatever. And I'm calling my trumpet player and I'm calling my man on the keys. I learned that from that. You know what I mean? When I heard the first time it was ever done on Life After Death.
Right.
And the first record, Somebody Gotta Die,
Mm.
there's Jason. Ain't no slugs gonna be wasted. And Big Revenge of tasting at the tip of my lip. I can't wait to feel my clip in this hip. And I'm hearing these strings.
Uh,
Nobody was doing that in hip hop. You know what I
wow.
mean? Like nobody. And then you hear, you know, we go to That's Somebody Gotta Die. We can go down the album to Today's Agenda. Got the suitcase up in. We doing all that. And you hearing these strings. So Big is talking about dumping out and grabbing the hotel clerk and chick and running and the Rovers waiting outside. They double park by the hydrant. And you hearing these strings with this dirty soul sample and these hard drums from Nasheem Merrick and Angeletti and them. And then you hearing these strings, this orchestra, these orchestral strings. And I'm 15 years old, 14 years old, blown away. And
Mm.
I kept that in my pocket. So now when
Wow.
you hear my joints, I'm adding strings, I'm adding trumpet, I'm adding keys, I'm adding Fender Rhodes on top of dirty boom bap hip hop production or whatever it is. I'm
Mm.
taking beats from people you wouldn't expect to hear this type of element added on top of. You know what I mean? It's one thing to go get a live band and bring all that, which I
Right.
love, by the way. It's
Right.
one thing to get a live band and do all that. It's another thing to take this Apollo Brown beat and call a live trumpet player to jump on top of it or put some actual strings on it. I learned all that from the Bad Boy era. And again, we know what Son did, and it's horrific what's going on right now with all that. But if we talking about the music of what I got from it in
Mm.
that time, those is the lessons I got from that. You know what I mean? When Life After Death, when them strings was coming in on top of them Angeletti beats and stuff, it didn't make sense, but it did. It was like, yo, I never heard nobody do this before.
Mm.
And all that goes into curating an album and how to make a real album as opposed to just being nice. You know what I mean?
Shout out D Dot the Mad Rapper right quick.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know what I learned about you also? You've done in your career that you probably don't know how I feel about this, but you've also done a great job on hooks, right? Where you grab a person that we've never heard before. Then I gotta go search their name up.
Right.
You've been very good. Where do you find these people who might not be? We don't know these people. They're not Mary J.
Right.
Blige, even though you've done records with other
Right.
Legend and stuff like that, right? But
yeah.
you grab somebody who can sing real well, but they're not quote unquote popular.
Absolutely.
You gave them that look though. Where do
you
from though?
For me, it's always random. You know,
Okay.
it's always being in studios, knowing this person, knowing that person. I may even reach out to a homie and be like, yo, I'm looking for a singer with this type of sound, this type of voice. I don't care what the name is, right?
Okay.
Like we all want a name. It'd be amazing to get Mary on a record or get SZA on a record. It'd be amazing. But I don't care what the name is. I care about what the work is. So even with the beats, there's so many producers, you know, one of the first times, if not the first time heads ever really heard them was with me. You know what I mean? Like there's so many producers and their heads will listen to the albums and be like, they'll say, yo, who's on a new album? And I'm naming heads, and it's nobody that they ever really heard of, or for somebody they heard of a little bit, but it's not the big names. I don't care. You know what I mean? I care about the music. I care about, yo, that's so and so. I never heard of them, but they beats crazy. Perfect example. Um, on on the new joint on
Mm-hmm.
Keep Me Company,
Mm-hmm.
I was working on it, and my man Fillmore Green was like, "Yo, I know this dude in London. He's a huge fan of yours. Yo,
Mm-hmm.
can he send you some beats? Can I give him your email?" I was like, "Yeah, give it to yeah. You my man. I trust your ear. If I don't like the beats, I don't like them. It is what it
Mm-hmm.
is. Cool." Son sent the beats. I had never spoke to him, never nothing. Some kid in London. Yo, Fillmore gave me your email. I love your work. You know, here's a pack. Yo, right away I picked a joint. It wound up on the album. You know what I mean? That was the kid Sir Williams, and that was Finders Keepers. You know what I
Wow.
mean? Like
Okay.
literally, like I'm working on the album, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, this kid hits me and send me a pack. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, track 6, yo, I need that for the new album. He's like, what? You picked one for the album? I'm like, yeah, I need that. Send the stems. You know what I mean? Like, and he started the album off. He's track 2 on the album. So it's like I don't care about the name. I just care about the work, you know?
I would like to see you and J.R. Swift lock in together for a whole
We got a
project.
couple. He did
I know he did community service. I know he did
he did
community
community
service.
service. He did I was supposed to be a trap rapper.
Yeah,
That's
try
my
to
guy. He did a couple joints. Yeah,
y'all,
yeah.
y'all brothers up, but you. That's what I'm saying. I can't put you in a box. You do good with everybody, my nigga. I don't know what it is
Appreciate
with
you,
you.
man.
You
Appreciate you.
do good with
Yeah, you know, it's
everybody.
yeah,
Because
it's
prime example, I'm only saying this. Both I love Boldy James, right? But I be noticing with Alchemist, I like him more with Alchemist compared to other producers that he links up with, right?
okay.
You on the other hand, it don't even fucking matter who you link up with. I,
Now I
it's
appreciate it,
fucking
man. I
magic.
appreciate it, man. Shout
You
to
know what I'm
Boldy too.
saying?
I appreciate it,
I love
man. You
Boldy. I
know,
love Boldy. I love
for
Boldy.
me, one of the talents that comes with this um picking beats is a talent and a gift, without a doubt. We talked about it a minute ago, you
Yes,
know, where
yes,
it's like
yes.
some heads they can't pick a beat, you know what I mean? Like no matter who they are. And some heads pick beats and can't rhyme, but the beats save them. So a lot of people, yo, people love the album because of the beats. Whether they underground, mainstream, but yo, that album crazy. Word, yo, yeah, this beat, yo, I'm riding. All right, but he wasn't saying nothing, but the beats gave them a career. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? There's a lot of heads
Facts.
like that. So,
Yes, yes.
you know, picking the beats. I remember some years back, there was I think it was it Nod Factor, my man Jerry Barrow, shout to Jerry Barrow. I think it was his joint.
Mm-hmm.
They did it was blog. They did a list of the best beat pickers in hip hop. It was the
Mm-hmm.
top 5 beat pickers, and it was me, Game, Rick Ross,
Wow.
um, I think Dom Kennedy, and Lil B. Because it was a certain era. It was like 2011,
Okay,
2012,
okay,
something.
okay, okay.
Yeah, it was me, Game, Rick Ross, Dom Kennedy, and Lil B. And I was like, word, that's a hell of a list because it's all over the place. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? You got me for the boom bap. You got, you know, Lil B for the blogs. You got, you know, Dom Kennedy for the laid back for the girls. You got Ross for the mainstream. You got Game for the super
Yeah.
West Coast gritty gangster. So it was dope. I was like, yo, that's a very well thought out list. It wasn't no bias, but it
Right.
was ill to be on that. You know what I mean? So it's proven. You look at all them guys. Everybody know Ross for his beats. You know what I mean? So like, it made sense. But yeah, it's a gift. So just going back to your
Yeah.
question about putting albums together with producers. Yeah, I'm like, you know, I need the beat to talk to me before I speak back. Like I need the beat to say something to me. Even when I have the concept already, a lot of times I have the concept, but I don't write the rhymes until I have the beat. Like I write to every beat itself. Some people write rhymes and find a beat later. They sit in the crib like Tupac and just write, and then they find the beat. I'm more big where like I write to the beat. Like that's the beat. I bet. Boom, I'm gonna write to that. So everything is kind of tailor made, and you know, I'll have the concepts and I'll say, I need a beat that sounds like this because conceptually I need it to feel like this. I need a beat that sounds like this so-and-so joint. I need a beat that sound like this Jay Allure joint. I need a beat that sound like Nas represent. I'm just naming stuff, but you know what I'm saying? So like I'll look for certain sounds and certain energies, not for you to remake that beat, but just the energy and the feeling that you get from that or the tempo or whatever, knowing the story I'm looking for. And then I'll find the right beats and then I'll sit down and start pinning and you know, off to the races.
How are you able to take Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt and did what
Yeah.
you did? How were you able to do that?
Oh man, that's
You made it look effortless. Was it
yeah.
effortless or was it hard? You made it look
Nah,
easy
I
to me,
appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was crazy, man. It was an honor doing that. The people made me do that. The people pushed me to do that record. Everybody was talking about the Elzai joint at the time, Elmatic.
The Nas joint he did, that was
Right,
crazy. Shout
which
out
was
Elzai right
great.
quick, man.
And
Shout out
then
Elzai.
so everybody was talking about that, and he was killing it, and everything was
Yeah,
buzzing.
yeah.
Somebody, man, my man, he's from Detroit, and I didn't know him at the time. He just was a fan, but he had wrote, man, Elzai did Illmatic. We got to get Skyzoo to do Reasonable Doubt. So like, I retweeted it, just being funny. I retweeted it and wrote, haha, and it took off. Everybody, yo, this is happening. This is good. And I was like, whoa, slow down. This ain't happening. You know what I mean? Like, I have no desire to do this. You know what I mean? So,
Oh man.
so then, A Dream Deferred came out and was
Mhm.
going crazy and everything was great. And I'm doing interviews about A Dream Deferred. And at the end of every interview, they were asking, so when you gonna do the Reasonable Doubt joint? When is that coming out? I was like, yo, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing that. Like, what are we talking about? I was just messing around off somebody else igniting that fire. And then I just said, you know what, man? Enough people asking for it, man. Got to get the people what they want, like the song says. So it was beautiful, man. The beauty about that project,
Mhm.
it's not me trying to be Jay.
Right.
Right? I think a lot
Right.
of people would have done that and tried to be him. Now I got 97 bricks, and lost them and brought them all back. And it was me as who I am and the life that I live and the way I grew up in those situations. Like, all right, what would I do if I was in the evils?
Praying
If I
against
was
evil.
faced with the evils.
Praying against the evils, right?
Right. Like,
Right,
what would I do
right.
if I was faced with those same demons as someone who never sold a brick, never flipped, never cut? What would I do in that? But still grew up with these kind of guys, still grew up in this
Yes.
environment. I know
Yes.
that world so well because my guys next to me was doing, I've talked about that ad nauseum throughout my career, right? Like, I didn't do all that, but my guys next to me was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with The Mind of a Saint. How could you make this type of coke rap album and it sounds so authentic? People like, yo, man, you sound like you sold 100, but you sound
You
like you
did
know
though,
exactly
son.
what
You
it's like.
did though. I ain't go.
And
You sound like you in Eastern Parkway in Franklin.
right, you
Hustler.
know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, you know the lingo, you know the talk, you know the code, you know the numbers, you know the price. How do you know all this? But you're very open with the fact that you didn't do all that. Well, I'll tell you how. If you look at Rich Paul, who grew up with Braun and all of them, and now he's a huge agent and da 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 da, and he's one of the best agents in the game. I don't think Rich Paul know how to dribble. Like, I don't think he know how to dribble. But he could spot talent right away. He know the game. He know ball. He know this, that. He know, oh man, nah, son should have cut right there. Damn,
Yeah.
son jumper is
Yeah.
broke. Damn, son don't got no left. He can't
Mm-hmm.
dribble with his left. Damn, he
Mm-hmm.
play bad defense. He don't get back right. He don't know how to read. He don't know how to zone. He don't know. But he never stepped foot on the court. Why? Because he's with Braun and them every day. You know
Right.
what I mean? So, like, if my best friends was in the jungle getting busy every day and I'm with them every day sitting on the same bench, it's just them getting up to go do the work while I'm sitting there chilling and
Mm-hmm.
we turning up the music on the speaker.
Facts.
Or, they pass me the joint. You know what I mean? So I'm,
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking two puffs while they
Right.
go get busy and
Mm-hmm.
meet with the bubbles and make a sale.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still there, even though I didn't get up off the bench. I'm still right there. So of course I know how that world works. You know what I mean? So
That's New York. That's Brooklyn though.
you know what I'm saying? So like now, if we go back to the
Yeah.
older Reasonable Doubt joint,
Yeah.
that was how I was able to be me, being who I am, how I've lived, the life that I have not lived, which I'm very open about. I don't run around. Yo, I did this. Never did that. Go check my whole cap. Never did that. I never talked about some stuff that I ain't know. Never.
Mm-hmm.
But the people in the scramble look at me like one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, because they like, nah, son know what he's talking about though. Like, he's open with the fact that he wasn't on it like that, but he know what he's talking about. He know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, he know what it is. So when I did the Reasonable Doubt joint, it wasn't about trying to pretend to be some coke flipper. It was about taking my life, the stuff I went through, the kid who had a regular job, the kid who had to go to work, the kid who grew up around the way with all the hustlers and the dealers and the da-da-da-da-da, and was the cops looking at me the same way they look at them, the kid who grew up with both of his parents but knew what it was like for the kids who didn't have both parents, all that, and put me in those same scenarios that Jay was talking about. How would I react as Skylar? Not Sean Carter, but
Right.
Skylar Taylor. How would I react?
Right.
And that's the difference where a lot of people would have tried to be Sean Carter. You know what I mean? I didn't do
Right.
that. Same thing with Saint. I didn't do that. I was like,
Right.
this is how it got to be. I didn't make it a braggadocious album. I made an album about reflection and about, damn, how would Saint look at this world? This world isn't glorified the way they're trying to glorify it. This world is heinous. This world is horrible. That's the angle. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing.
Wow. You were early. I feel like you and Royce the 5'9", y'all were early on Griselda before everybody else though. Am I right on that?
Very much so. Very much so. They'll tell you that.
Because you on Fly Guard, you and Westside got the 55 joint, I think. What song y'all did together?
The 55 inch Zenith.
Yeah, y'all did that
50
early.
inch Zenith. Feeling like 50 inch Zenith.
Right.
Yeah, I met Wes in 2014. You know what I mean? 2014.
Wow.
In 2014, I get an email from somebody I never knew. Yo, peace, God. My name Westside Gun. Blah 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 blah. I'm a fan. Blah blah blah. Would love to connect with you on some music, man. Let me know how we could build. Blah 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 blah. So we start building on the email, and he was like, "Yo, I'm actually based in Atlanta right now." I was like, "Oh, word, I'm gonna be in Atlanta next week for A3C. You know, maybe we could link up and cross paths and dap up." Blah blah blah. I was like, "All right, bet." So I go to A3C. Now we on the text. I'm over here. Meet me at. Okay, yeah, because I don't know what he look like. You know what I mean? So I'm over here. Blah blah blah. By this bill. Okay, bet. I go, "Yo, what up, baby? Boom boom boom. We vibing, everything cool." He was like, "Yeah, I actually got the lab." But I bet. We go to the lab. And it was me, him, Derringer, and Monk. And he pulled up the beat.
Camouflage
Yeah, Camouflage Monk.
He's a dope producer too. He made some
crazy.
Stuff,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he did the beat for what would become Rolex. So we in the lab. Wes do his joint. I'm like, yeah, money is dumping. Money going crazy. So I write my verse. Boom. I lay it down. Everything is smooth. So now we listening back to it. You in the lab, you listening to something 30 times. You know what I mean? So we listening to it. So Derringer's sitting right here next to me. I'll never forget. Derringer's sitting right next to me on the couch. And Derringer was like, yo, man, whenever you got some time, if you don't mind, take one of these with you. And he gave me a CD.
Okay.
And it was Hitler Part 2.
Wow. Okay.
So Wes told me this record was going to be on a series he had called Hitler Part 3, which I had never heard of any of this stuff. So Derringer gave me a CD, Hitler Part 2. I said, okay, cool, word up. I put it in my pocket, boom, boom. So now I go back to New York, and me and Jada was talking about doing the record which became See a Key off of Music for My Friends. So Jada was like, yo, come to D Block Studios, which is in Yonkers. So Brooklyn to Yonkers is like an hour and change of a drive. So the whole drive to Yonkers and the whole drive back, I bumped the CD that Derringer gave me, Hitler 2. And I was like, yo, this is fucking nuts, B. I'm like, this is fucking nuts. I called Wes. After my second listen, I called Wes. I said, yo, bro, I said, you make some beautiful music. Those are words I said. I said, bro, you make some beautiful music, B. He said, yo, man, that means so much, man. I said, I didn't even want to text you. I wanted to call you so you know it's real.
Wow.
He said, yo, that means so much to me, man. Heads in the game is fake and we trying to get it going and, heads is fronting on us. But I said, nah, bro, you make some beautiful music. I said, whatever you need from me is done. He was like, word? I said, whatever you need is done. He said, yo, would you be down to shoot the video for Rolex? I said, absolutely. He said, yo, we gonna shoot it in Buffalo. I said, bet, just get me to Buffalo and we good. Bet. Flew me to Buffalo, hotel, whatever. I spent the whole weekend in Buffalo. Picked me up, we riding around, he taking me through the hood, taking da-da-da. We went everywhere. We went to the hood, we went to the mall, we went to the Shake Club, we went everywhere. It was one night, bro, we was up to like 6 in the morning. We was in the lab. Well, no, we was at somebody's crib. I think it was, who was it? I think it was a kid, Chase. We was at somebody's crib at like 5:36 in the morning. And in my mind, I'm like, yo, they don't sleep. They don't go to sleep. You know what I mean? Like, Wes is twisting up. It's like 6 in the morning. I was like, yo, they don't go to sleep. But I'm thugging it. I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? Whatever. We shot the video. I met Khan. I met Benny. Benny was still moving around. I could tell. You know what I mean? He in, he run out. He in, he run out. I'm like, okay, I know what's son on. You know what I mean? So we all, everybody there chilling, whatever. it was a dude filming behind the scenes footage for the video. My man Gus shot the video, and I actually got him through West. Me and Gus wound up doing videos later, and it was a dude filming behind the scenes footage. That dude wound up being Makami. I didn't
Wow.
even know he
Shout out
rapped.
Makami. Wow.
I didn't even know he rapped. He had the Haitian joint on
He,
his
he,
head.
he was messed up.
It wasn't on his face. Nah, his face wasn't covered. He just had like the Haitian
Okay, okay.
scarf on his
So you
head,
know,
on
so
his
hold on, talk about
dreads.
you know how Makami looks like that, basically. You say,
Yeah, 100%.
so we
Yeah,
know.
yeah, no, 100%. Yo, he was filming. He was doing BTS the whole
Okay,
weekend of
okay.
the
I
Skyzoo
fuck with
West
Maka,
Side
man.
Gun video trip.
Mm-hmm.
My man Malek, shout out to my brother Malek. We all was there. I didn't even know Hami rapped. You know what I mean? He was just homie that was filming the behind the scene. Yo, what up? This my man. He gonna film the BTS. Okay, cool. What up? What
Right.
up? It was Mock. It was another kid. He was like 16, playing beats in the car, shy. It was Fahim. You know what I mean? So like all of this was happening. This is 2014. You know what I
Shout out
mean?
Pop.
Like,
Hey.
so, I get back to the airport. He dropped me off. He opened the trunk. He got all these Griselda hoodies. He was like, yo, what size you wear? Yo, I'm a large. Yo, take this, giving me hood. If you wasn't part of their crew and they circle and all that, you didn't know them. Now, they was large in the street, without a doubt. You could
Right.
see it. They was large in the street, and the music was bubbling, but nobody knew them yet. You know what I mean? And that's why I was there from the beginning, man. And then I remember when I started working on music for my friends, I was like, yo, I want to put the bro West on a record. But I was like, yo, I don't want him to do a verse. I want him to do a hook. I kept going to like Meth on Ice Cream. I was
Okay,
like, yo,
okay.
I want him to do a hook like on some Meth shit on Ice Cream, because I wanted people to see that West was a real artist. Like, because again, a lot of people didn't know them yet. You know what I mean? And I was like, yo, he's more than just a rapper. He's really, really on some artist shit, which now you're seeing. You know what I mean? So I was like, yo, he's really an artist. I was like, yo. So I hit him. I was like, yo, I want you to be on the album, bro. He was like, yo, word, good look, boo, boo. I'm with it. I'm with it. I was like, but I don't even want you to do a verse, bro. I want you to do the hook. I got this record. I want you to do the hook on it. So he wrote the hook, and then I tweaked it. I sent it back. Yo, say this line. So we wrote the hook together. He respit it off some of the new lines I put in there, and that was Luxury. You know what I mean? So we did Luxury. He came up to New York. Him and Conway and Derringer and Malek. They came to New York. We shot the video in Brooklyn, and that was it. Then he was working on Fly Guard. He hit me. I jumped on that, and Benny hit me. Benny was like, "Yo, I'm trying to get you on this on this joint, blah, blah, blah." He was like, "Yo, what's the ticket?" I was like, "Nothing." Like, you know what I mean? Like, you West cousin, it's nothing. Khan hit me, yo, boom, let's do it. We did Sky Joint, you know what I mean? And me and Benny did the Hunter, then we did the
I
Hunter
love the
2.
Hunter joint. I love the
You know what I'm
Hunter joint.
saying? Yeah, we
Love
did the
that
Hunter,
joint.
we did the Hunter 2.
Yes.
Me and Khan did Sky Joint, we did Sky Joint 2. Then on my records, we did Basquiat on the Draw, we did Eastern Conference All-Star. So and those is my guys. That's why, like, I tell this story, because if you ask them how it went, they will tell the story verbatim. You know what I mean? Like, Benny was on Math Hoffa. He was like, yo, Sky's the Oracle. He always says that, yo, Sky's the Oracle. He was the first person to believe Sky's the Oracle. West will tell you, Connor tell you. He'd be like, yo, it's my brother. Like, when no one cared, he cared. You know what I mean?
Word.
Like,
Word.
then you saw other heads.
Yes. That's
Yo,
what
yo, I
after that.
never,
After
yo, the
that.
first time I heard them was Luxury. Yo, these kids, yo, I heard them on Roll Out, yo. And now it's friggin' out of here. Legends, icons, all this incredible stuff. And I'm just honored to be part of the story. But beyond that, like, those is my brothers, especially what me and Wes hang out the most, but they all my
Right.
brothers. But
Right.
like, Wes comes to my house, I go to his house. He brings
Wow.
his family, I bring my family. You know what I mean? Like, we're family. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
Wes
Wow.
calls me,
Wow.
yo, we doing a family dinner at the house. Pull up, bring wifey and your son and bet. Yo, we doing Father's Day at the crib. Bet. He brings all the kids. We're family. You know what I mean? So
You know,
that's my brother.
a second ago, you were talking about guys who got ear for beats. Gun might have to
Without
be
a
that
doubt.
conversation now. Those guys.
Without a doubt. Yo, like I said, man, when I heard Hitler 2, I was like, yo, this is incredible, B. Like, I called them. I said, you make some beautiful music. Because there was nobody cooking the way they was cooking. You know what I mean? Like, everybody was trying to do a certain thing, and they were trying not to do the certain thing. They were
What
doing
made you
something
embrace them?
else.
What made you embrace them? Because New York is funny though, man. Niggas will be like, "You're not from the boroughs, y'all niggas from upstate," but you
Bro,
embrace them though. You
I
know what I'm saying?
I'm with, yeah, I'm with whatever's dope. I don't care
Right.
where Heads is from. I'm with
Facts.
whatever's dope. And
Mhm.
it was the same energy. Like when they first came out, if you ain't know, I'm talking when they first 2014, 15, the first time Heads heard them, if you didn't hear them saying Buffalo, you ain't think you thought they was from Queens, you thought they was from Harlem or East New
Facts.
York, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Or the Bronx,
Mhm.
because you knew the energy, like you knew what it
Mhm.
was. You knew, yo, they really, really, really about that. They really,
Right.
really live that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I've been with them in situations. They are who they say they are. You know what I mean? I would tell anybody watching this, they are who they say they are. It's not, it ain't no facade. You know what I
Right.
mean? They are some humble, good brothers who get busy at the snap of a finger if they have to. Like they are who they say they are, without a doubt.
Why no video for Eastern Conference All Star, sir?
I know, right? I don't know, man. Like I had an
That
idea
should have
of,
happened, man.
yeah,
Yo, you ready for
yeah.
this?
I
I
had, you know,
respectfully, hold on before you
yeah,
go, Scott. I think that's the last dope New York posse cut
posse
I
cut.
heard. The
Absolutely,
last one. The last.
absolutely, absolutely. When you talking about
Even
Reservoir
Elzai
Dogs,
from Detroit though, but I'm just saying last posse cut
right, right,
I
right,
actually
or
like.
just even just dope
Right, posse cut,
lyrical,
posse
just
cut.
posse cut. Like, and
Yeah,
it had been so long.
yeah.
It was an idea I had for a while, even before I knew who I would put on it. I was like, yo, I had that title. I was like, I want to do a joint, Eastern Conference All Stars. So it's going to be 5 of us. So me and 4 other people. And then putting it together, it just was a lineup that made sense. And then, of course, everybody was, yo, why you ain't hit me? You should have put some. So then that becomes the debate, which is great.
Right.
Then Heads was in the comments when they dropped, yo, who would you put as the Western Conference? So then fans is naming people. Who would you put Midwest? And fans would name people. And that's great dialogue. That's great for
Yes.
the sport.
Yes.
But I had a couple ideas for the video, man. I had an idea of like some little kids rhyming as us in front of a corner store, like a cipher. You know what I mean? Like, cause you got 5 individuals who all live in different places.
Yes.
It's hard to bring that together.
Right.
You're
Right.
Detroit and I'm in Atlanta and this one lives in LA. You know what I mean? Like, well, yeah, everybody lives in different places. So, it's it would have been a little difficult, but it's one of them joints, man. It's one of Pete's favorite joints he ever did. When you ask him, like he loves that. And I
Wow.
remember when I went to him with the idea, like, yo, I got this idea for this record called Eastern Conference All Stars, and at that point, I knew what the lineup would be, and I was like, yo, it's gonna be me, Wes, Con, Benny, L. And he was like, ooh, he was like, I know exactly what beat, and he played that beat. You know what I mean? He played that beat because Pete is a scientist. You know what I mean? So he was like, I know what to do for that. And it wasn't one he made on the spot. It was one he had, and he was going through. He was like, "Yup, what you think of this?" No. And I was like, yeah, load that up. You know what I mean? And we just started going for it. And we wasn't in the lab for it. Me and Pete was together, but none of us was in the lab with the rhymes. Like, it was all email. You know what I mean? It was
Wow.
all emailed out. And I think L, I think L sent his back first. But the way I did it, I didn't let nobody hear what nobody did except my verse. You know what I mean? So when
Okay.
I sent the record out, everybody got the record with my verse and then the beat. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So no one heard what everybody else did until it was done. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't like, yo, ooh, I heard what so and so did. Let me try to,
Yeah.
go for broke. Now everybody knew who was on it. I told
Right.
Heads, yo, this is who gonna be on it.
Right.
But I didn't wait to get 3 verses and then send it. Nah, like, here go
Mm.
my verse. That's why I set it off. Here go my verse.
Mm.
Jump in right after me, and then I just placed everybody so I placed everybody where I wanted them. Like, I put
Mm.
Benny here, put L here, I did. You know what I mean? So it was tough, man. It was, yeah. I was thinking about you know the Locks and DMX and Mace, and I'm thinking about
Mm.
Jay and the Locks. I'm thinking about Reservoir Dogs. Like that energy.
I gotta go to go back to the Reasonable Doubt project though. Did Jay Z ever hear the version you did? Did he ever hear that?
I
Do you
don't
know?
know. I don't know. I had heard that it made its way around up there. I don't know anybody super in that world.
Right.
I heard it made its way around because I heard he does hear everything, but I didn't get confirmation on, yo, son got it, boom, 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 boom. I didn't get none of that. And at the end of the day, it was for the people who literally came to me and asked me to do it. Like, I had no intention on ever doing anything like that. They came to me and they asked me for almost a year straight.
Right.
yo, when you gonna do that? When you gonna do that? When you gonna do that? So I was like, all right, let's do it. Yeah. So that was
All
it.
right.
So it really was for the fans, the consumers, the people, the listeners. It really was for that.
You're a Brooklyn dude, but you do have Queens roots, correct?
100%, 100%, absolutely. When I was in high school, my pops moved to South Side, and I was 14, 15, and yeah, my pops moved to South Side. So now my pops is in South Side, my mom's is still in Brooklyn. So I'm going back and forth. Boys in the Hood, Trey Styles. That was my life. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
I've talked to, I was Trey. I was Trey Styles,
Mm,
without a doubt. I was with my
mm,
mom's, and then I moved in with my pops. You know what I mean? When I was 10 years old, I moved in with my pops, and I see my mom's on the weekend. So then when my pops moved to South Side,
mm.
got a house, all that, 174th. So now I'm there. I'm back and forth between there and Brooklyn. So Queens is my second home. Southside is my second home. But even then, I was known as the Brooklyn dude. Like once I got
Okay.
my crew, it
Right.
was like, yo, yeah, oh, who that? Oh yeah, that's Sky. That's the Brooklyn dude. You know what I mean? But I was living in Queens.
I had Graph on my show, right?
Hmm.
And we got to argue about Brooklyn rappers against Queens rappers, right? Graph was not trying to hit nothing at the same Scott.
He
So
shouldn't. He from Queens. He shouldn't. He shouldn't. You know what I mean? I respect that.
hold on. Let's keep it real though. Brooklyn rappers or Queens rappers? Where you going with it?
Here's the debate.
All right.
Queens got more rappers,
Yes.
but Brooklyn got the best rappers. But that's no slight to Queens, but Queens got way
Uh-huh.
more rappers. You know what I mean? If
Uh-huh.
you look at Nas, The Mob, LL, The Unit, Graph, Lost Boys. I mean, if you're really going down the whole line,
Royal
you know
Flush,
what I mean?
Onyx, you can go down the list of
Nah, you know
people.
what I'm saying?
Mike
Onyx, of course.
Geronimo, yeah, you go down the list.
Everybody, like Queens got way more
Yeah,
rappers. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But with Brooklyn, it's Big, Jay, Kane, you know what I mean? Buckshot, Sean Price, Rock, But
yeah.
Queens has way more. So they can bring more people to the fight. You know what I mean? For sure, for sure. But
Right, right.
so it's tough, man. But you got some animals in Queens, without a doubt. You got some
Mhm.
animals. You know what I mean? Like nothing to debate.
You dropped a single in April, right? That tells me a project is looming, correct? I would think, right?
In April, what single I dropped?
Was it the free joint? Am I tripping? Or what? Did you drop a joint in April? Oh,
Oh, the Fair
single?
Game joint?
Yeah, the fake joint. Yeah, the fake joint. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's for Talib Kweli's compilation album.
Okay. So you know what's funny though? You all right? So Talib Kweli album. You, Buckshot, and Talib had a song
Yeah,
together. It gave you a
Turnstile.
Brooklyn, it gave you a Brooklyn Dodgers kind of vibe. I told Talib Kweli
Yeah,
that.
I love that record, man. I
I
love
love
that.
that
That
record.
Turnstile record is
I
crazy.
love
We
that
we was on
Turnstile record though,
tour,
man.
and shout to my brother Kweli, man.
Mm-hmm.
He'll do anything for me, man. That's my bro. He'll
Mm-hmm.
literally, like, if I say, yo, I need a verse for this, yo, I'm
Right.
going on tour, yo, you going on tour, let me come out and get some paper with you. It's whatever. Yo, video, but it's whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's literally family, man. So
Right.
Qua, we was on tour, and we was backstage, and he pulled his phone out and played that record. He was like, yo, I got this record I want to get you on for, me and Jay Rawls. I was like, I need to press play on the Turnstile joint. I was like, yo, this is nuts. He was like, yo, can you do it by like tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I got you. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's
Right.
funny enough, it was the last night on the tour.
Mm-hmm.
So we on tour, and then the next morning I drove back home, like 5 hours. I drove home, and as soon as I got home, I just came straight to the basement and did the verse. You know what I mean? So yeah, he was like,
Yeah.
"Yo, because I got to turn it in for mixing and mastering in like a day and a half. Can you shoot it to me like in 24 hours?" I was like, "Absolutely, for you, absolutely." So I love
Mm-hmm.
that record too. That record came out
Yeah,
crazy.
that was fire. Listen, I wasn't familiar. I told Talib Kweli I was not familiar with Jay Ross at all, but I
Jay
mean,
Rose is crazy.
Jay
Jay
Ross is
Rose is
crazy
crazy,
though,
bro.
son. He's
Like
crazy,
he's
Scott.
crazy, man.
He's
And he's a
crazy with the
college
production.
professor in Columbus. But
Yeah, Talib was telling me that. I was like, what?
yeah, now Rose got them beats. Rose is crazy.
So what you got going on for the rest of the year, brother? What should we be looking out for?
Man, I'm slowly starting to brainstorm
All
on
right.
on some new stuff. I'm not sure if I'm gonna drop this year or not, but more than
Okay.
likely I will, because I know me. You know what I mean? More than likely I'll probably drop at the end of the year. I
Right.
haven't started yet, but for me, the blessing with me is I put records together quick. I Keep Me Company came out in November of last year. I
Yeah.
started Keep Me Company in like July. You know what I mean? Like July, August. I had to turn it in for mastering like October. So I did that August, September, second half of July, because the first half we was on the road. When I got back, second half of July, I started Keep Me Company, and I was done, you know, top of August, maybe. You know what I mean? I mean, nah, top of October. I'm sorry. So, what you looking at? Like 2 months, two and change. So I've always been blessed to be able to knock records out quick, as you saw with Cloud Nine in 3 days. So most of my albums, man, even like the Easy Truth, the story Apollo always tells. When you work with Apollo, the way he works, he'll send you the beats like 3 months ahead. He'll send you like 40 beats.
Right.
You can ask Joel, you can ask Shay Noir, anybody's ever done albums with.
Shay Noir, Joel, they all work through
He'll send
Apollo.
you a big bag of beats, like 40 beats. You pick the ones, you pick about 15 or whatever. You start writing. 3 months later, you go to Detroit and you be in Detroit for like 3 days and you just knock all the records out because you wrote all the records. You had 3 months to write 14, 15 records. You go to Detroit for 3 days. You knocking out 5, 6 records a day, and then you go home because you're just recording what you wrote. Cool.
Wow.
I don't work like that. Everybody knows I write on the spot. I literally write everything on the spot.
On the spot. Wow.
On the spot.
Wow.
It's been like that since 2010, since me and Illmind did Live from the Tape Deck. I write everything on the spot. I don't write on the train. I don't write on the tour bus. I don't write at home and then go to the lab. I write everything on the spot. So Apollo sends me all the beats, and I'm like, all right, cool, yep. I picked the joints. So he was like, I bet, man. So, we booked the trip, have you come out for like 3 days. I was like, nah, I'm gonna need a little more than that. He was like, what up? I was like, book about 2 weeks. And he was like, yo, 2 weeks? I was like, yeah, I write everything on the spot. He was like, nah, man, we're not gonna be able to do it. You're gonna need more time. I said, bro, I promise you, we'll get the album done in 2 weeks, 14 days. He was like, nah, man, that's gonna be crazy. Yo, you're gonna have to come for like a month and a half, and it's gonna be mad expensive with hotel nights and blah, 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 coming to Detroit. He was like, nah. I said, bro, I promise you. Book the trip for 2 weeks. I promise you. We did the album in 9 days. So the Easy Truth, me and Apollo, we did for 9 days. I literally went to Detroit, sat down. Now I had the beats picked out. The beats is picked out ahead of time, but I didn't write one line, nothing.
Wow.
Even the concepts, I didn't really have no. I just knew, yo, this beat. Yep, these the beats I love. Whatever. I sat down right in front of him. He'll tell you. I sat right in front of him. He's sitting there on his phone drinking a soda. I'm sitting there writing. All right, boom, I'm ready. Go in the booth, knock the verse down. All right, I'm ready. Boom. So now the song is done. Yo, load up the next beat. So I'm doing like 3 records a day. I'm doing 3, 4 records a day. You know what I mean? Whatever it may have been. Yo, we did it in 9 days. I had like 4 or 5 extra days. We went to the Motown Museum. We going to friggin', buying sneakers and bugging out in record stores and digging for vinyl. And we had nothing to do. You know what I mean? Because the trip the flight wasn't for like another 4 or 5 days. So we had 4 or 5 days of just chilling in Detroit. He was like, yo, we're done. I was like, I told you. He was like, I never seen no shit like that in my life, man. I'd never seen nothing like that in my life. I was like, I told you, just I got you. You know what I mean? I'm right on the spot, but I got you.
Are we gonna get a Retropolitan Part 2?
Retropolitan Part 2?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I would love to. Pete has mentioned it to me. We'd be talking and bugging out. He'd be like, yo, man, you know the streets talking, we gotta do it again. You know what I mean? But I don't know. We don't have any plans to, but I'm obviously all the way with it. It's Pete. You know what I mean? Like, I'm obviously all the way with that,
Wow. So you said we might get music next year. This year we don't know yet. You don't know yet what we're gonna.
Definitely next year if it's not this year, but it'll probably be this year. Knowing me, it'll probably be this year. We in May. We looking at the end of May. Yeah, if I get started in another month, I can make something happen in time. So I know what I want to do creatively. I know the stories I want to tell on this. It's just about sonically, production wise, who I'm gonna get with, how I want to do it. But I know where I want to go and kind of the muscle that I want to flex on this one. You know what I mean?
Is it hard holding Brooklyn down the way you do it? Because you're the only one giving us Brooklyn stories, Brooklyn talk.
Thank you, man. Thank you. No, that means a lot.
You took Most Def Brooklyn joint and flipped it. And that was 1990.
Yeah.
Black on Both Sides came out, I believe, right?
And yeah, 99. Yep. Yeah, no, that's real. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's hard. It's not difficult. The pressure for me is living up to myself.
Okay.
People always say, yo, do you feel pressure from other artists, other music that's dropping? I don't, right? And that's no slight. It's that I look to myself to be better than me. You know what I mean? Like, I look to myself to one up and go crazy and get busy and make sure I'm doing what I got to do. So
Mm.
I'm gonna always make the music the way I know it. If I was from the South, all my records would sound like toomp joints and organized noise joints. And
Right.
if I was from LA, all the joints would sound like Rick Rock joints, and what I
Battle
mean,
cat,
and
battle cat in the
you know what I'm saying, battle. You know what I'm saying? But I'm from where I'm from, so I can incorporate certain elements
mm,
that'll make sense to other markets.
mm,
I don't have an only New York fan base. I got
right,
fans all over:
right,
Chicago, Detroit, LA,
right.
North Carolina, Atlanta, whatever,
Mm,
everywhere. But a big part of why they fans is because I'm me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm me. I'm not trying to be them. I'm not trying to make a trap record. I'm not trying to make a drill record. I'm not trying to, Southside Chicago. I'm
right,
being me, and they respect
absolutely.
that with the lyricism. Like, yo, yeah, when I want soul food, I go to the soul food spot.
Mm,
I don't go to the Chinese food spot looking for soul food. I don't go to the Mexican spot looking for soul food. When I
facts.
want New York work, I go to the New York rapper.
Absolutely.
If I go to the New York rapper, he not giving me what I get Southside Chicago drill or LA and Crenshaw. He not giving
Right.
he giving me what I came for. You go to the fish market, the mall, you go to the steamed fish spot, and they bringing out tacos. You're like, nah, I came for the steamed fish with the white rice and the veggies, and I season it myself. I came for this. If I wanted the Mexican, I would have went
Right.
there. I
Absolutely,
came. I
Scott.
went. I'm on Fulton Street. You know what I'm saying, at the steam spot. I want that.
Mm,
That's what it's about.
wow. Wow. Well, brother, listen, man, I appreciate you taking your time to rock with me. I am definitely a fan of your music, brother. Anything you
Thank you,
drop,
brother.
I think all of us on social media, dudes I rock with, we all talk highly of you, man. You know what I'm
Thank
saying?
you, brother.
So,
That mean the world to me, man. That's what I do it for. Like, business is business, and we gonna get paid and do our thing, and we want as much as we can get in this, without a doubt. Especially having family and owning a house and owning multiple cars and whatever. You need what you need, but at the
right.
same time, my legacy and my name and what's tacked on my jacket is everything.
Mm,
And when I tap out and my son is here talking about his pops, it's like, yo, my pops legacy was real. I could stand on that. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
And,
That's
and
a
if
fact.
you was a diehard Skyzoo fan throughout my entire career, there's never gonna be a moment where you're not proud or where heads be like,
That's a
aha,
fact, though.
you know what I mean? And
Fact.
listen, as fans of all the artists we're fans of, we can pretty much point to almost everybody and point out a blemish and be like, oh yeah, but that one.
Jay's
Oh,
my favorite rap. Jay-Z my favorite rapper of all time. But there's
mm-hmm.
some old albums I just don't like.
Right. Yeah. For
And
me,
I
yeah,
love Hov.
my favorite rappers is Jay-Z and Mos Def, Nas,
Yes.
of course. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
yes, yes.
But I think anybody, no matter who your favorite is, it could be
Mm,
anybody. I
yes.
think you have those moments where you could be like, oh yeah, but that one, and not even calling out names, but like, oh yeah, but that
Yeah,
one
yeah,
album, yeah, he
yeah,
lost me on that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
With
yeah, yeah.
my catalog, if you are a Skyzoo fan, you can't do that. You
Can't at
can't do
all,
that.
son,
All you
at
can do is
all.
debate which one you think is better. That's it.
That's a
That's
full
it.
fact, though, Sky. I ain't gonna hold you.
That's it.
My
All
brother,
you could do is say, yo, man, he killed it on the Easy Truth, but my favorite became Retropolitan.
not
Yo, he
talking.
killed
Yeah.
it on All the Brilliant Things, but my favorite
Ooh,
is Keep Me Company. Yo, that's it. That's all you could do. All you could do is just debate which one was your favorite versus which one is your favorite now versus every day your favorite change. That's it. That's what it's
wow.
about.
Nas is Nas on the bucket list?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You mean as far as wanting to work with?
A verse from Nas? Can we? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. That man would be incredible, and I think the people would lose it. And absolutely, my
mm.
my bucket list is the usual suspects that we all look at Nas and Jay. You know what I mean? Like all
Still
those
hold, still hold, still.
to want to do a record with.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Why you said still?
Jay ain't doing nothing, man. I don't know, man.
Exactly. So here's the thing.
All
I
right.
highly doubt anything like that would ever happen because he ain't doing nothing like that. He don't have to. Like Nas, the beauty of what Nas has been doing, and everybody's talked about it a ton. Nas is still out in the street moving around
Yes.
like if he was
Yes.
21. You know what I mean? Which is
Yes.
beautiful. Like Nas is getting on records and doing XYZ and putting albums out and going
Yes.
crazy. Jay's not doing that. He doesn't have to.
Right. He doesn't have to. He doesn't
There's
have to.
rumors of him being in the lab and all that beautiful stuff. And
Well,
I
Jay,
think
if you're in the lab, I mean, feel free to get Sky on the Jay Z. We will have no
I
issue.
mean,
Us Brooklyn niggas, us Brooklyn niggas will have no issue with you and
yeah, I mean,
Sky hooking
I
up.
would be. I
None.
mean, of course, that'd be a dream come true. But like, we know stuff like that more than likely ain't happening because Jay is Jay, and that's cool. It's love, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
of course we all want to work with the Jays and the Nas's, and
Yes.
for me, I would love to work with Most Def.
Mm.
I've got Quali on a ton of records, and I would love to
Yes.
get him
Good
on a
quality.
ton more. That's my brother,
Mm.
So,
Mm.
but it's for me, it's just making the best music possible, man, and that being that.
Are you in Rome Streets? What y'all have you guys linked up at all to
Yeah, we
talk?
never did no records, but we did a couple shows together. And
Okay.
anybody that's Griselda is my fam, even if I ain't meet them yet. You know what I mean? But me and Rome, we did a couple shows, and it's love and all that. So Rome is super dope. You know what I
Mm.
mean? He doing what he got to do for the city.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you start naming those names for the city, his name is there without a doubt.
It's only three of y'all, man. It's only three of y'all.
Who that?
There's only four. It's only four niggas.
Who's that?
You, Rome,
Uh-huh.
Banks, Ransom.
Okay. Yeah. So
And I
now wait a minute. Are
rap.
you absolute now? And that's a great five. Are you adding the rest of Griselda who's from upstate? Because even though it's for the city, because for me, I am. When I think
Okay, all
about
right,
New
all right,
York,
all right, all right, all right.
I'm
Okay, so yeah,
absolutely
you
adding
got the
Khan,
Griselda, you got the
Benny,
Griselda, you
West.
got
You
the
know what I
Griselda.
mean?
You got the Griselda in there. I like Stove God a lot. I love
Love
West Side.
Stove.
I love Stove,
Yeah,
Stove.
absolutely.
I
So
need a
like,
project,
even
Stove.
though
I need
they
a
from
project,
upstate,
please, Stove. Jesus
huh?
Christ. I need
Say
a
that again.
project with Stove. I need a project, a full
Oh yeah, yeah,
project
yeah,
with
yeah,
Stove God, though.
yeah.
I
Absolutely.
mean,
So when I think about who's doing it for the city, even though they
right,
from upstate, I
mm,
incorporate them in the city because of one, they're
right.
technically from New York, even though it ain't the city, but
Mm.
what they're doing representing.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely, absolutely.
representing the city more than a lot of heads that's from the
That's
borough. You know what I
true.
mean? So I
That's
gotta add
true.
them in it. That's why I
That's
asked you. I gotta
true.
add them in it. You know what I
That's
mean?
true though. I don't think a lot of it's funny you said that, right? Because I was having a conversation with some New York dudes. They're like, man, they're not from the city though, man. We the niggas from the city. I'm like, my nigga, but they rap better than a lot of
They
niggas.
and they repping, they
And
repping
they rap
like the
New York.
energy they doing, and they not saying, "Yo, fuck the borough style." Nah, it's
Yeah.
it's. They walked in like, "Yo, I know y'all probably gonna look at us crazy because we not from Brooklyn or Queens or Harlem, but you know what? We not even from Long Island. We not even from the 30-minute Long Island Railroad trip.
Right,
We
right,
from up there. We gotta take a
right.
flight. You know what I mean? But yo, check
Yeah.
this out." And it's like, yo, you would think they was from Brevoort. You would think they was from Cephalo. You know what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of it. So I got to add them to it, of course, just
Mhm.
by default. But yeah, that's a hell of a five that you named. And shout out to
Yeah,
all of them. Banks new
yeah,
joint, all
yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Scott, I appreciate it as always, King, for giving me a
Thank
dope
you, brother.
interview,
Yo,
man.
listen, we was overdue, man. I'm seeing you interview everybody. I'm like, yo, where my three at? I need my three. You know what I'm saying? So I got my three
Listen,
joint now. You know what I
if the
mean?
Knicks get a finals, we gonna talk to our brother. Believe
Let's
that.
do it. Listen, B, I'm gonna be hoarse. We win the chip. I won't be able to do the interview. I'm gonna be hoarse. You know what I mean? But nah, it's
Right.
love, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad we was able to get together. I'm here anytime on deck.
Always appreciate you, Scott. Always, brother.
Much love, baby.
My guy, man. Shout out to my brother Skyzoo, Brooklyn, the fucking Bills.